We are honored to have you with us for the conference on EXIM business, trade and shipping, risks, challenges, and Institute of Chartered Shipbrokers and CMU. This initiative is the global export-import sector. I am CL Vaishnavi, and alongside me is Mr. for the day. As we now, I have the please join us in welcoming them with a huge round of applause. Professor Dr. Gujarat Maritime University and Vice at Institute of Chartered Mr. Ashutosh Sharma Sir, Chief General Manager of Development. Offers a timely platform for businesses, policymakers, and industry leaders to collaborate, address key challenges, and on this enriching journey let us illuminate this path towards innovation and sustainability in exit trade and shipping. Thank you everyone. It is our privilege to extend a warm welcome to our esteemed university to kindly do the honors of presenting bouquet. Professor Dr. S. Chandra Sir. Captain Gordon Rana Sir. Mr. Rajkumar Sharma Sir. As we embark on this insightful event, it is my honor to now invite our esteemed host, Professor Dr. S. Shantakumar Sir, to deliver the welcome address. Professor Dr. Sanjeev Shantakumar Sir is a distinguished legal scholar and a provost.
Its chief guest for this evening, Mr. Krishnan Subramanian, Vice Chairman of Institute of Chartered Brokers, good friend, Captain Gaurav Rana, founder of a training institute called CMU. The guest of honor, Mr. Ashutosh Sharma, Chief General Manager, IFSCA. Captain Sandeep De Silva, founder and CEO of Mission Digital Global Digitization and Optimization in Management. Mr. Puneet Rosa, President Institute of Chartered Brokers. Mr. Suresh Swami, Partner PricewaterhouseCoopers. Mr. Dharmesh Rao, Director School of Maritime Management, Gujarat Maritime University. Mr. Amit Oza, founder, CEO of Ashrama Shipping and Trading Services. Mr. Tapasvi, Vice President, EXIM Commercials and Logistics Limited. Captain Amresh Kumar Jha, Director, Town Shipping India. Mr. Sandeep Shah, Head IFSC and Strategy Department at University. Professor Tanuja Kaushik, Dean Academic Affairs. Dr. Chirag, the Registrar of Gujarat Maritime University. All the distinguished faculty colleagues at the Gujarat Maritime University, the students of Gujarat Maritime University, all the distinguished invitees and participants in this program. On behalf of Gujarat Maritime University, I deem it a great honor and privilege to extend a very hearty welcome to each one of you. This is a fantastic gathering of a galaxy of experts from the maritime sector. This is the best the university can do to its students by creating this platform for the students to interact, to get to know the industry leaders in the maritime sector. And the topic that we are going to discuss today is of great significance to all of us, especially in the maritime sector. I must thank the Institute of Chartered Shipbrokers for continuously associating with us in helping Gujarat Maritime University nurture many niche courses which will not only help our students but also the professionals. Similarly, our partnership with CM Beyond has proved very successful, and some of the few courses that we launched jointly had a tremendous impact, and in fact we are really fortunate to have Captain Gaurav Rana supporting us in all this venture. We are a very infant university. Gujarat Maritime University is just 6-year-old university. And within a short span of this 5 years, discounting those 2 years which went on COVID, I personally am satisfied that we have really created a mark for ourselves. Today, Gujarat Maritime University is a globally recognized university. When I was given the responsibility of establishing this university, I was looking for a university with which we should benchmark ourselves. Then we were targeting World Maritime University and certain other institutions which were doing good. And when we wrote to them, in fact, I should not blame them. They were not aware of us. They don't know what is this institution, what are they going to do, how do we associate our brand. WMU, World Maritime University, is already an established brand, and therefore they were quite hesitant, so they were not even responding to my emails and calls. But 4 years down the line, I am extremely happy to inform all of you that WMU is now approaching us for partnership. This is one important yardstick that I could use to satisfy myself that we are moving in the right direction. And this is, of course, I must pay all credits to my dedicated and committed team of faculty members and teaching and research associates and administrative staff who have been working day in and day out to ensure that we meet the expectations of the maritime industry, not only the expectations of our students. I am really fortunate to have all of you, the stakeholders in this sector, for very generously, kindly supporting Gujarat Maritime University to reach the place where we are today. Today, not only World Maritime University, we have drawn the attention of few institutions in India as well, like especially when impacting humanity all over the globe. It had a tremendous impact on seafarers, especially due to the issues concerning abandonment of vessels. So, National Human Rights Commission took cognizance of this issue. They reached out to us and they have asked us to prepare a small handbook which can be given on behalf of National Human Rights Commission to all the seafarers, wherein they should be informed of all their rights and duties that they have as a seafarer. And that is where, that was the first project that we could do. Similarly, we had an MOU with ICE1, International Seafarers Welfare Network. With ICE1, we conducted a global study, an empirical study that we did by reaching out to all the seafarers, collecting the data, and then we presented the report. We released that report recently in Mumbai, which was very well appreciated by the Director General of Shipping. And we got to know from the newspapers that the DG Shipping, quoting our report, telling that they are planning to take corrective measures to ensure that the seafarers' rights are not affected and they are not defrauded by agents at the time of recruitment. So we did a good study on recruitment fraud and all these things. So likewise, we partnered with the World Maritime University in organizing the 47th Conference on Ocean Governance, Law and Policy, which was held at Istanbul. So that time we actually wanted an invitation to go and attend to see what is happening on ocean governance. When we went there to Istanbul for the first time, we were quite upset that India, such a large, being a peninsular state with such a long coastline, that 47 years this conference had never been hosted in India. And countries around India have been hosting this conference on ocean governance and policy. So we made a very strong bid before the organizing committee host the next conference. But since the 48th conference was already decided to be hosted by Peru, by the government of Peru, so they said 48th they had to give it to the government of Peru, and 49th Conference on Ocean Governance and Law and Policy will be hosted by Gujarat Maritime University, and that was the announcement by Gujarat Maritime University, which is the principal host, which is hosting in association with the Stockton Center of International Law, which is part of the US Naval War College in the United States of America. So both of them have now reached out to Gujarat Maritime University to host this event in India, and we are planning to host it in the month of September 2025 at New Delhi. So this is a pre-invitation to all of you to please join us in a gathering of eminent speakers and scholars in this domain of ocean governance, which will help us. So these are a few examples that I would want to mention before you, to present before all of you, how Gujarat Maritime University, though an instrument university, has been progressing not only in teaching our students what they need to learn from the curriculum, but also to cater to the industry professionals by offering certificate courses and diploma programs. We run executive diploma programs, especially for people who could not come and attend all these classes physically on campus. So we run an executive diploma program where we permit mid-career professionals to learn from the university, especially from very eminent scholars like all of you who have assembled today. I must place on record my sincere gratitude to Mr. Puneet Dosa and Mr. Amit Dosa for very actively supporting us, guiding us, and telling us exactly that what right now is happening in this field and where we need to focus our attention on. We are extremely grateful to both of you, sir, and thank you so much for guiding us, keep supporting us, and all of you who have assembled here today, including Mr. Ashutosh Sharma, Chief General Manager from IFSCA, with whom we intend to collaborate and we intend to work in the days to come to ensure that this sector, as envisioned by the Honorable Prime Minister, do not face any hurdles as far as meeting the human resources requirements is concerned. Therefore, providing appropriate knowledge to people of India who wish to have a career in this sector, and also involving ourselves in upskilling those who are already in the profession. These are the few important tasks that what Gujarat Maritime University is doing, and I'm extremely proud the way my faculty at Gujarat Maritime University is contributing. If I see that there are just a brief summary report, of activities that what they are doing in this last 4 years. We have done 233 webinars and guest lectures, of which 73 are online, and offline we had 160 guest lectures and webinars organized. We had organized 17 certificate courses and training programs for working professionals. We have done 14 workshops, 3 global level conferences, 4 moot court competitions for law students, 3 focus group discussions. We have 16 MOUs with globally renowned institutions like Erasmus University, STC International, CDS Executive, ISWAN, Maersk Training, APM Terminal, IFSCA, Antwerp Flanders Port Training Center, Dehukum, which is a maritime education center, Ankara University. Then we have MOUs with the Maritime GMU. We have MOU with Sea and Beyond. We have an MOU with IGBNI clubs. And we are also we are at the final stage negotiating the MOU with DG Shipping, with IRS, ICSI. In fact, this is another very important landmark development. Sorry, ICSI has already, we have signed this MOU very recently. This is the Institute of Company Secretaries. So, Institute of Company Secretaries, they reached out to us to design and offer a 2-year residential MBA program for company secretaries on compliances and regulations in the maritime sector. So, this is a very innovative program designed by a team of our faculty members and by the Institute of Company Secretaries, and this MOU was recently signed, and we are going to launch a special program from this academic session onwards. Similarly, we have already initiated a study with the Maritime GMU on gender disparity, especially in ship recycling yards, with a special focus on South Asian countries, and then some of our publications. In the pipe, but already 39 research papers have been published in very reputed journals by the Faculty of Maritime Management, and similarly, some of the papers, especially on the IMO convention, right? The 2020 IMO convention on low sulfur diesel. So that paper published by our faculty members was put up on the homepage of World Health Organization, and encouraging everybody to see and read and learn from that paper, which was published by our faculty. So we have been taking a number of baby steps in the right direction to ensure that we are a very highly specialized university, creating a brand not only for the university but also for maritime education in India, bringing now more and more students from outside India to come and study at Gujarat. So in this process, I wish to take this opportunity to place on record my sincere gratitude to each one of you who have assembled here today to support Gujarat Maritime University in this process of knowledge creation and upskilling professionals in the maritime sector. So with these few words, once again, I extend a very hearty welcome to each one of you to this program, and I'm sure that all of us will be benefited by the extensive knowledge the speakers are going to place before all of us. So thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your enlightening words that have truly set this. Logistics and commercial shipping with a remarkable 4-decade career. As a study over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. May I audible? Respected Mark, Mr. Sharma, the IFSCA, and Captain Gaurav, esteemed faculty and the current leaders of the industry, and of course, the future leaders of the industry, a big thank to all of you. First of all, I would like to extend my congratulations to the GMU. It was a fantastic summary of achievements which you have presented here. My last trip, or the first trip here in October, we had a very brief discussion at that time. Again, thanks to Captain Gaurav for facilitating that. And along with Amit, who was stationed here, we started exploring as to how we can contribute more. From the point of view of the Institute of Chartership Brokers, where we are a professional body of members as well as a body of knowledge, where we impart this knowledge not only to the existing professionals but also to the students and the educational institutions and universities. Today's world is all about collaboration, and I'm really glad to see to the extent to which you have capitalized on that in a very short span of time, because that's the only one way which can add value in a very short time. Even in business, we say that before talking to customers, talk to your competitors first, because the world moves so fast, and we would hear something in the digital side as to what's happening and how we need to ensure that we collaborate there, and education is no different. The ICS stands for knowledge, and relevant industry knowledge, and increasing the networking, not only within members, but also with the industry experts, and that's how there's value for business which comes in through the network. I'm very glad that Mr. Puneet Dosa, who is also the international president of the institute, could be here today. It was a bit of a different circumstance where he couldn't be in Dubai. That was Dubai's loss, but it is GMU's gain. He was supposed to be in Dubai early this week, and it was a very tough challenge to fill his shoes in some of the programs which he had with him. But good to have him with him. Faculty and students you would hear more about when we do the panel discussion. The need of the hour for the industry is to get the right skilled people into the workforce. India, we don't have a dearth of talent. There's no dearth of university degrees or qualifications. But if you really look at the challenge which we face in terms of getting the right skilled people for each and every job which are coming up, the evolving jobs which are coming up, it has become a huge challenge. And therefore, especially in logistics and shipping, where the world moves very fast, Technology is changing the way things have been done or has to be done. Geopolitical situation in which there is no script or experience or rule book or SOPs are coming into hand. And right from COVID into what's happening in the Red Sea or with the conflicts today, believe me, there are companies, the boardroom discussion is about how should we tackle the situation if the conflict or when the conflict stops. There's no rule book there. So more than what can be learned in the classroom or what can be read in media, what is available in public, what we look for today is in terms of how can a person adapt, how fast can they adapt, how agile they are, and therefore how can they add value to the business. So therefore, when we collaborate as the ICs with academic institutions, we have also evolved from merely being a membership body. Of course, that's the flagship program where we write the exam and become members. Like most of us here, including Amit, Punit, myself, we wrote the exam and became members. But the education side has evolved, especially post-COVID, in terms of bringing in online programs, digitizing our books, and then the launch of the online academy. And there's much more collaboration which is happening with the educational institutions because that has become one of the main challenge which needs to be addressed today. So one of the appeals, and I did the same thing when I talked at the C-Trade conference last week in Qatar and a break podcast earlier this week, is that as an appeal to all of us here, the professionals, is in terms of that we need to invest some of our time back into the classrooms, back into the academic institution. I'm sure there's lots happening, based on what doctors were shared about the collaboration and the webinars, etc., which is happening, industry experts. But it's much more than the need for the institution. I think it has become a pressing need for the industry itself to ensure that this knowledge is translated back to the classroom. And I'm glad to share that again. I with the Transport Group as an advisor, we just launched a program 3 months back in terms of working backwards from job description to competency framework to academic to the service. Because that's the only way we can ensure that the graduates who are coming out are relevant to the industry and their employability is always enriched. The general awareness of the industry. So this is another challenge in terms of how many are really aware of this particular industry and the job opportunities. I came into this industry by chance, right? In terms of, it was a public sector company. I started with Bharat Petroleum. There was an officer training program, and that was a good thing to happen, and therefore I joined. And that's the first time I saw a ship. And I'm really glad to see one of my old friends, owning a ship. He was working for an agency. And I have a lot to thank Gujarat for this. That's where I started my career. I was there for a good 8 years where I learned about shipping operations, about rail operations, about road operations, etc. And then, of course, got the opportunity to move to Dubai with Shell Petroleum. So therefore, the general awareness of this industry as a career option. Bachelor's program, but master's program. However, how many of you, if I ask the question to the students here, did you choose this line based on which was based on awareness and the potential of the industry? So there's much more which needs to be done there. Again, COVID was bad for many of us, but then one of the positive aspects of COVID for our industry is the awareness as to how important this industry is, because it was logistics and shipping. There's only one, apart from the healthcare, the industry which was working 24/7, 365 days to ensure that sitting at home, if you order something got delivered to us, including food packets. It's because of the logistics industry. I think we deserve a big round of applause. So therefore, my only prayer and appeal is that this should continue. There's much more which can be done in a collaborative mode. And we can bring in value back to the academics and back into the institutions in a much concerted manner, especially when we are talking about the huge potential for Bharat in terms of the vision which is there. Yes, there are government policies which are also being changed in terms of how to meet these challenges, and therefore I think there's much more effort which is required, and I'm glad that we're able to collaborate here. Wish you all the very best. There's plenty of discussions and insights which we will hear from the panelists later on. I wish you a wonderful conference and a great day ahead for all. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your enlightening work. See and beyond. He is an is dedicated to improving aviation safety and is a recognized expert in AXA training programs us in giving him a warm welcome. Over to you, sir.
Well, I just realized I have another field where I'm good at. Thank you for that. I'm mainly a maritime professional, just to emphasize. Master mariner, been onto the shore for about 14 years, and I run a company called Sea and Beyond to do career progression and upskilling. So Dr. Shanta Kumar, Krishnan sir, Mr. Sharma, Rajaman, all the delegates over here, esteemed guests, all the dignitaries, and industry colleagues, and of course the future leaders back there. Thank you for coming here. And the most satisfying moment for an entrepreneur is when you see your ideas taking shape. So 3 months back, when we started to discuss on this particular idea with Dr. Abhay, Krishnan sir, Shantakumar sir, it was just a thought. And I don't think, 3 different companies, 3 different bodies, entities have come together from diverse background to host such kind of a event. So seeing the result, seeing the attendance, seeing the traction which we have on social media or in the physical sense as well, it's really, I feel happy about it. And thank you and congratulations for making this happen, and of course another feather in the cap for GMU and of course ICS. Thank you. It's an absolute honor to stand before all of you and we come together to discuss the crucial intersection of EXIM, business, trade and shipping. I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to GMU and the organizers for this opportunity. As a seafarer and a maritime professional myself, we all take pride in saying that shipping is the backbone of the trade. We all know more than 80% of the cargo is being handled through the shipping. And so which makes shipping not just vital but indispensable. The significance, however, comes with a lot of challenges. Challenges which are probably related to regulatory complexities, operational risk, and nowadays the ever-evolving geopolitical uh, landscape which influences us. So, in today's world, the maritime sector should not just focus on the efficiencies and profit, but also on sustainability, the digital transformation, and risk mitigation. The rise of automation, data-driven decision making, and regulatory reforms, such as those spearheaded by the IFSCA, are reshaping our industry. We must embrace these challenges and not resist them. At Sea and Beyond, we have always emphasized the importance of skill development and career progression. The future belongs to those who are flexible, who are adaptable, who are always on the lookout for a new skill to capture, to upskill themselves. And we should be prepared over here, and with the bodies like GMU and ICS being here, for a new wave of probably courses which are right now in the industry specific, but could be into digitization, decarbonization, and so forth and so on. I firmly believe the collaboration between the public and private sectors, academia, and the industry leaders like yourselves is the key to addressing the risks and unlocking new opportunities in EXIM trade and shipping. By working together, we can all create a resilient and future-ready maritime industry, and not only support global trade, but also lead it. Once again, thank you for having me here, and I look forward to engaging in meaningful discussion with all of you. Farewells and following seas.
Thank you, sir, for your attention. Your insights have truly made a significant impact. Ladies and gentlemen, we are honored to welcome Mr. Ashutosh Sharma, sir, Chief General Manager, Development, IFSCA. Policy making, strategy, business development, and program management. Sir has an MBA development at the Infrastructure Authority. He is responsible for developing India's major global. Sir had several leadership programs in strategy.
One of these days, that LinkedIn has all the information. Just comes out. Thanks a lot. Very good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thanks a lot. I think in this first audience, you have experts from the industry, maritime, even law, legal. Unfortunately, I'm legal, but I'm the rest of them. I'm trying to make team. But I tell you, the topic that was given to me was IFSC and how it interlinks with the risk challenges and potential solutions. I try to make sense of it. Typically, instead of looking at risk challenges, I look at it as opportunities. And I think the future leaders, as previous speakers mentioned, say that we should envy you because you are literally in a military base of the country. The huge opportunities are available in India, and you must have seen the budget which came out recently and the kind of policies made look into it. And why I say so is that some of the problems that I'm trying to solve along with my team, and I go to the experts in the industry. Unfortunately, I'm not able to get the answers that we should get from the expert in the form, and at times you have to rely on the offshore experts. The kind of solution or we can say opportunities that are in front of us and what IFSC is trying to solve. A lot of you're sitting next to it, so you know what is there. What IFSCA was designed to do in one line is onshoring the offshore. What does it mean? It means that the businesses, the opportunities that country has lost to other countries, which are related to India, interrelated to countries. That can be in any domain. You have to bring it back into the country. Let's put a color to it. And imagine that when we were getting the investments into India, and typically you can look at from the FDI nations, FPI nations of the country, you will see that earlier, around 10 years back, 5 years back, top two nations used to be Mauritius and Singapore. These are not the nations where investors are based. Think about Singapore. Singapore, I think whether shipping terminology is also we think about it, but if you think about the investment, Singapore has around 4.5 trillion funds industry. This 4.5 trillion fund industry, 80% of it is originated outside of Singapore. Investors are outside. And almost 85% is deployed outside. Means they are just facilitating. When a country of the size of Singapore, which is in a population in size measurably smaller than a single state in country, they are able to make an impact. They are able to make an impact of because of some reasons, which largely I can say are the policy decisions. Policy decisions create conducive business environment, and what do you mean by business environment? Very simplistically speaking, you can think of 3 or 4 pillar frameworks, but you can think of the regulatory frameworks. It can be financial, it can be sectoral, it has to be regulatory frameworks. Second, you can think of very efficient tax structures so that it becomes very competitive because effectively all the financial centers in the globally, in this protocol, I can say that in the past they have been built on the advantages. Now they are trying to create the walls where other centers cannot come, but they have tax advantages at one point in time. And then they have legal frameworks. If you can combine these three, and you put in the right kind of talent, you have the recipe for the growth that can compete with the world. That is what India needs, and India already has the talent. And Krishnaji mentioned that we have the experts, but we do not have experts probably with the right skill set. We need to sharpen, we need to bring the right experts on the field. The courses that are being developed, the collaboration that are being pushed, is going to play a key role in bringing those high-skilled jobs into the country. And that's the area where I think I congratulate GMU in bringing it forward. And there are areas which IFSC is also trying to bring in, and will encourage you also to collaborate to bring in those solutions into the ecosystem. When IFSC was established, we started looking at certainly the financial. IFSC is a unified regulator. It's a financial regulator. If you think of domestic, we have Reserve Bank of India, SEBI, these are domestic sectoral regulators, financial regulators. IFSC is a unified regulator. We have all the financial regulators together. Now, this itself is one of the best policy innovation by the country, because when you put capital market, financial, insurance, and then you're connecting the aviation shipping all into one policy making institution, the kind of synergy that comes out is a very different quality. It's holistic approach, which at times is missing in the country. It is happening right now in IFSC, and I think we should congratulate the country's leadership for bringing out these kind of behavior in British. And we are lucky to have this right next to the university. We have the absorbing industries here. We have the talent providers sitting next. We call it the talent circle, which is circling the gift city. So we have the capacity available. What we have done so far, initially when we reached out, we looked at what has gone out. We started our approach with the banks. India does not have a capital account convertibility, so companies cannot have foreign currency accounting to India except some cases. So the companies went out to open the foreign currency account to avoid their tax losses, get efficiencies. So companies went out, IFSC opened that, companies can have foreign currency account in analysis. You can do business only in foreign currency in GIFT. So in Mumbai is your minor financial center, you can do the business. GIFT City is foreign currency financial center, you can do foreign currency. When we brought up, look at banks, banks still continued to, and I tried to build it back into the shipping because very critical for you to understand that initially, Professor mentioned that he reached out to as I explained that I was trying to reach out to the global banks, trying to bring them to Bay City, we will finally get hard to sell the story why they should come. We never use the characteristic approach, but we follow their own is a policy making approach. Make it so competitive that the industry has to take the right decisions. But take the right decision in discussion with the investor. That's what we did. We came out with the right policies, right tax frameworks. Some of the people who are students from PwC, from the they all have been supporting us, guiding us with their expertise. We're working towards that. But now where we stand, we have 30 banks in Andalusia in the short term years. And we have 10 more foreign banks lining up. So in a year or so, you will have banks here. We used to have 14 billion of asset size in 2020. It has now grown to almost $80 billion. And soon, the way I measure myself is other jurisdictions. I look at the asset size of Dubai, in Singapore, Hong Kong. There is a little bit tool there, but if you think of Dubai, I think we will hit that road not in part future when it comes to banking. And we are getting right there. Then we look at funds. We now have 200 funds in GMU. And again, when you look at bank, when you look at funds, we realize that these are critical costs in the game, not only for the financial ecosystem, but they are playing critical role in every segment in India. When you think of shipping industry, aviation industry, infrastructure growth, these banks, they are specialized banks sitting in Singapore, Hong Kong. You can bring those expertise into their city. So that the right kind of infrastructure solution, the financial structure, can be developed into ecosystem. So we have got banks, we have got the funds, we have exchanges. We are at a stage where we have more than 30 aircraft leasing companies in Greater Manchester. In 2020, when the conversation came to me asking, can we bring aviation ecosystem to Greater Manchester? The opening statement was, aviation industry is not regulated outside, similar to shipping industry, financing of shipping industry, financing of aviation industry. Now, we are at a stage where more than 30 commercial aircrafts have been leased and financed from Gift City. We're talking about more than $3 billion of assets financed and leased from Gift City. We have more than 30 aircraft leasing companies. We have more than 20 ship leasing companies. The ecosystem is working. When we look at shipping, again, I try to do benchmarking when I look at the policies. Typically, the risk and challenges, rather risk and challenge is the problem. What is the problem that is keeping us on the ground? I look at some parameters, I look at some benchmarks, and I look at country like Singapore. And we look at what is the gross tonnage in Singapore. And when we look at Singapore, which has a gross tonnage of almost 8 or 9 times India's gross tonnage, whereas India has almost maybe around 38 or 40 times the coastal line of Singapore, we know that something is missing. And we permitted foreign flags chartering. Chartering of foreign flag and Indian flags and we can complete that. So we have chartering, we have ownership. Then we permitted, now we are in discussion with some UK-based companies which are global experts in the valuation. So these are service providers to the shipping industry. Again, probably the kind of opportunities that students in future may find in this is an indication for you. They might come here. Then the financing is a major one. But I think the recent announcement of Maritime Fund, And if in future, similar kind of funds can be established in the IFSC, and the structures can be facilitated where the triangulation of shipyards, manufacturing facilities, ship users, companies, ship lessors in the IFSC, and financiers in the IFSC can be done. That is where we think that we have succeeded in what we are trying to do. So I think this is just a beginning for us. One area where IFSC is again playing a role is on developing the talent. And developing the talent, well, we are working with NASCOM, we are working with ministries, but we identify that they talk about technology, where they talk about these industries, but we are finding is that talent is there, but even the industries which India is known for, such as global capital center tech, India is quickly falling short on the talent. What does it mean? That as Kushal mentioned that you need that edge, you need AI, you need the ML, you need cyber security. Similarly, aviation, you need the leasing and shipping, you need those kind of solution. So ICC came out with a regulation for universities, and we have committed for universities to establish in the ICC. We now have two local universities, three UP universities are setting up now, and we encourage that similarly, if you can guide us the right kind of talent providers which can be important to do that, bring those experts also, so that talent providers in the around basically and in the basically they combine can give global world class talent outfit with this. With this, I wish all the best to GMU and thanks a lot.
We sincerely thank you, sir, for your thought-provoking insights. Now, I would finally felicitate our dignitaries. Captain Mr. Ashutosh. Thank you so much. Thanks for
Respected dignitaries, distinguished guests, members, industry leaders, and dear students. It is indeed an honor and privilege to extend a heartfelt vote of thanks. Your expertise and speech will surely enrich our discussions and help shape innovative ideas for the future and future of the maritime and the shipping industry. Our gratitude extends to the conference conveners, organizing team, and the dedicated members of GMU whose meticulous planning and efforts have ensured the seamless execution of this truly commendable. Heartfelt thanks to our partners and collaborators, Institute of Chartered Shipbrokers and CM Beyond for their unwavering support in making this event possible. Your contribution plays a vital role in advancing maritime education, research, and industry.
Your keen interest in success and help drive meaningful discussions on the future of EXIM trade and shipping. As we embark in the maritime and wishing you all a productive.
Thank you so much, sir, for the kind words. We will resume with the panel discussion. I request the dignitaries to move to the banquet hall. Can you please?
आवाज का दिक्कत ये है सर, यहाँ से डॉक्टर बार बार छोड़ बार बार यहाँ से डॉक्टर छोड़ रहे हैं, इसीलिए बार बार उसको हमको सही करना। इंटरनेट कनेक्शन तो ठीक है। मैम वहाँ से साउंड वहाँ से आएगा। हाँ भैया, अरे वो कह रहे थे कि जैसे जो माइक आप लोगों ने लिया है उसका बार बार छोड़ रहा है, मतलब माइक वहां से लगे। माइक नहीं है, अरे वो क्या नाम है, पॉली पॉली कैम। हाँ हाँ, वो जैसे कैमरे में मैंने इंसर्ट किया है तो वो तो कैमरे के पास ही है। प्लगइन से खराब हुआ है। नहीं, वो कह रहे हैं कि ये माइक आप वहाँ रख दीजिए जहाँ पर या तो ये पूरा सेटअप, लेकिन ये कवर
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back. I hope you had an energizing day. Dr. Dharmesh Rawal, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Samir Shah, sir, a respected expert in shipping and logistics with over 45 years of experience. He is a trusted advisor in customs, international business, and trade. Manager of the Year Award. Passionate about education, Sir aims to enhance logistics training across India. We're on over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. So make it a bit energetic, then we'll have fun. If you keep it like this, then I'm sure the session. We all decided that sometime in the middle we might just stop talking and ask you all to do the questioning so as to make it much more interactive and everything. At the outset, thank you to the organizers for this wonderful opportunity and congratulations especially to the people sitting at the back for getting such a wonderful opportunity. We didn't have this opportunity when we were younger. It's only over the last 10-15 years that we are seeing this opportunity where people are getting knowledge from veterans in this industry. I was talking to Sir just 10 minutes back when I said that for us, post-independence day, Mukesh Bhai and all our first. So when they are taking out the time and coming and sharing with everyone, it puts a burden on the generations after them to ensure that we continue sharing our experiences. And that also puts the burden on the students over here that we are not instant people, so you will have to Captain Sandeep De Silva, I met him now, but I was so happy that both of us come from the same suburb in Mumbai. And even though we are a few years away from each other, we went to similar schools, similar colleges, and grew up in a similar Mumbai of the 60s, 70s, and the 80s. Captain Sandeep integrates maritime technology and logistic innovations. He has over a decade of leadership in shipping, specializing in business transformation, digitalization, and sustained logistics solution. So Sandeep, we'd like to understand later the gap between digitalization and digitization, if there is something, you know. Yes. His expertise spans business expansions, restructuring, and creating tech-driven maritime solutions. This is what was written over here. But what is interesting for all of us to know that here is a person who sailed, here is a person who practiced shipping and logistics, and now he is using that knowledge to ensure that technology becomes a part of our industry, and he is working to ensure that how does it become simpler and easier for all of us. My second panelist is Mr. Puneet Oza. He is, of course, the president of the Institute of Chartered Shipbrokers, ICS UK. He has plus 30 years of work experience. He doesn't look 30, you know, when you told me that I left college and I went away to Singapore and I've been abroad for so many years, my first reaction was that he doesn't look that old, you know. He's led digital transformation initiatives at Cleveland's Dry Bulk and held senior positions at major shipping firms. As a researcher, trainer, and interestingly podcast host, he focuses on geopolitics, trade, and digitalization in shipping. I also have a connect with him because his family and we have also known each other for over 50 years, and his uncle remains a mentor for me even today. My next panelist is somebody who I get genuinely afraid of because that's one area in this whole thing which I genuinely don't understand, you know? And that would be Mr. Suresh Swamy. He specializes in direct tax and regulatory advisory for SEBI, IFSCA, and FEMA. He has over 2.5 decades of experience and has contributed on key committees on ship acquisition, finance, and taxation. He's also an author, having authored a book on non-resident taxation. So in my entire panel, if there's somebody whom I'm apprehensive of asking questions, is you, Mr. Swami. And lastly, we have a wonderful academician, Dr. Rahul. Dr. Dharmesh Rahul has over 21 years of experience in academia, research and industry collaboration. A PhD holder in finance, he specializes in maritime economy, shipping finance and business strategy. His work includes EU-backed research projects and industry consulting. The interesting thing that I'd like to share with all of you was that when we were talking to each other, either in a group or on alone, the desire that this industry excels, the desire that this industry comes on the forefront, and the future generations want to join this industry because they want to join. Many of us, not me, I was second generation, but as sir also said, most of the people stray into this industry. They don't get a job anywhere else, so they come here. When I talk to the students at GMU, I said, why did you take up this program either as undergraduate or postgraduate? Most of the times the answer is that it appeared very different, it appeared exotic, it appeared futuristic, but there is never an answer that I want to be part of the industry for this reason, and that this reason is what we are all working on so that the future generations come in. The biggest shortcoming in this industry is people. This industry is desperately looking for people and then skilled people. So that was what came out very common while talking to each of my panelists. I have a few questions for each of them, but I'd also like to keep it very open. And I would appreciate if anyone has a question at any point in time. Let's not do a very simple, boring session where each person speaks and then you ask questions. If there's anything anybody feels, and I think I'd like to put it across. One of the words of my session is challenges. So I'd like to put it as one of the challenges to the students of the GMU to see how many questions you can ask my panelists. So let's keep it that way. So Dr. Rahul, the burden is on you.
Make sure the students also will take over.
So the topic that we are going to talk about is macro movement impact on EXIM businesses and the risks and challenges to trade and industry. Now when you look at the topic itself, that we are all the service providers to the problem. We are all the service providers to the people who are referred over here. So our role is more to be in a position to appreciate the problems, to anticipate the problems and think of possible present and future solutions, short-term solutions and long-term solutions, and also to be able to think what can be the problem tomorrow. With this, I'd also like to tell all the students over here that whenever you are attending a class or you are listening to all of us, try and think about the why of what we are talking and not about the how or the what or the when or the where. Try and think that why. Why is this topic being discussed? Why there can be a risk? What is it all about? The moment you start getting answers to why, you'll find it very easy to get your solutions. The real problem is to be able to transit to understanding why. Now we are all really looking at Trump too, and he's going to do this, he's going to do that, this is what is going to happen. But how many of us wonder, why is he doing this? How many of us wonder that when the Ukraine-Russia war took place, and India took a very different stand, how many of us sat down and thought, why is India doing this? So my request to all of you would be to think of the why. I have a few questions and I'll start with this. I'll of course start with your very own Dr. Rahul. And that would be, sir, if you can actually touch base upon how are these macroeconomic factors in India and how do you see them affecting export and import?
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the introduction. Okay, so I would like to relate it with, so for example, if we are talking about flowers, you talk that how flowers bloom, how we get great flowers, then we talk about ecosystem. So same way, if you want to talk about EXIM, you would like to start with GDP. So India's GDP, to talk on US dollars terms, it is around 4 trillion. It's going to increase. We are in top 10 fastest growing economies. Other economies apart from India are from Africa and those smaller countries we are not aware about. After GDP, we must understand about the FDI because a lot of research has proved that FDI enables foreign trade. So if we talk about India, then normally 70, 80 billion dollars is normally we get FDI year on year. And with recent agreement with Europe, we might increase this to double the FDI in few years time. And that should make a lot of impact. In fact, if you look to the total FDI that we have received in last 24, 25 years, in last 10 years, the amount has been 65% of what we have received totally in last 25 years. So this is one indicator which shows that okay, we are growing. So what we have received, that is 60% of 24 years in last 10 years, and I believe in next 5 years we are going to match up what we received in last 10 years. So this is a base that we are talking about. This is the foundation. Moving from FDI to foreign trade, again we have been growing foreign trade. I think last year we had around more than 780, 90 billion of exports. And then there has been multiple increase in exports to give. These are few indicators which suggests us that okay, we are poised, for some good development to come ahead. So I am on a positive note. I understand. I try to understand that okay, if it has to contribute to EXIM, we are good on foreign trade, we are good on the FDI. So overall, the picture looks good. Okay. Yeah, I mean, we have, so as far as deficit we talk, we have trade surplus with US and interestingly, in fact, not positively on a negative side, we have trade deficit with China. In fact, out of our total trade deficit, 33% of trade deficit is alone coming from China. So this is something that we should be worried about because and again our own dependence. If I just find it out based on the statistics that we have, out of the all the countries in exports as well as in imports, this is again an alarming thing. So everything is not, beautiful, but there are some areas that we need to be little conscious about as well.
I'm reminded about Sir USA after World War I and before World War II, when such a lot of migration happened from Europe to the US, and the initial growth came when the Italians traded with Italians, the French traded with the French, the Germans traded with the Germans. I think it's high time the Indians also realize that in a few years, we have to become the biggest exporter of manpower in the world. We don't have so many jobs for the youth, we don't have so many businesses over here. So India is going to at some point in time becoming the biggest exporter of manpower, and that can be a very wonderful way to start entering into all the other countries other than your top 5 or 10 countries that you refer to.
Yes, sir.
Preet ji, I'd like to come to you because he already touched about international oceans. One simple explanation, what do we actually understand by the word geopolitical tensions? You know, one question is often asked to us. You can exchange the mic if you
I think so.
One question Puneet is often asked is, what exactly is a geopolitical tension? And second would be that given your overview of working at a very international level, how has India dealt with all these geopolitical tensions that are happening, and how do you see it impacting our foreign trade?
Thank you so much, Samir, and thank you very much for the invitation. I actually find that the Indian story, if it is captured in the right way, is something of a trailblazer for a lot of countries, especially in Asia and Africa going forward. We have a lot of lessons to learn as to how India has changed in the last decade and a bit. So I'll just start with a macro perspective and then basically try and bring the trade perspective to what Dr. Rawal just mentioned. So all of you have seen that happen in stages. It's a bit like when you see a distant cousin's kid after 10 years, you suddenly see, oh, you've grown up so much. That's how it happens when you actually come into India after 10 years or a decade later. But you guys have all been here, so you've seen that growth story, so you don't really feel the growth because it's a very small portion which is growing every year. But when you look at a 10-year horizon period, which I've seen in the past 10 years, has been unbelievable. So what have they knew that before they go and confront their own house in order. You do not invite somebody to your house which is broken. You invite somebody only when it's nicely done up and nicely furnished and full proper setup. Which is why the internal workings of India had to be kind of properly tuned up to receive the international audience and influence geopolitics. So that's the first term I believe that he actually managed to do that. The second thing, like what Samir shared, was basically about instilling the pride in people outside India who are from India. I'm one of them. So there's a very normal saying saying you can take an Indian out of India, but you can't take India out of an Indian. Right? So that's exactly the way it works. But they are very influential people. They are the people who actually determine some of the biggest decisions that those countries are taking. And they are actually part of the decision-making process. Those were actually talked about and looked at. And then, of course, you had physical, actual reach out in terms of building bridges, trades, as well as relationships going forward. There are so many countries, if you count, Mr. Modi is the first Prime Minister of India who visited those countries in the entire history of the nation. This is something which is very, very interesting, but also very interesting, and this is something that I personally relate a lot to. Geopolitics is about perception, and geopolitics is about reaching out with something concrete to give. So the concept is, to paraphrase J.F. Kennedy, you have the situation saying, ask not what you can get from the world, ask what you can give to the world. The minute you understand that you have something to give, I think it will be much easier for India to manage this transition into becoming a geopolitical power, which I think it is on its way to becoming. That is why the tension part that you bring. The tension comes only when you don't know what is in front of you. That's when you are tense, right? The fear of unknown creates tension. But I still believe that India is in a much better position because we have been through these phases in the past. We are in a much better position today than before. And most importantly, we actually have centuries of tradition and heritage that we are drawing upon. In some ways, we are going back to our roots in the way we conduct business with each other, because that's how we have done it centuries ago. We had forgotten it for many years, now we're going back to the same roots and values that we actually have inherited from generation to generation. So this is geopolitics in a nutshell for you in terms of what I look at it. Let's come to trade. trade is a give and take business. It's an exchange, like what Dr. Raval mentioned. Some countries are giving more to us, and we are, giving less to them. So, or a deficit at the end of the day. However, in India, the whole idea is we are trying to focus on those areas which are economically smart and sound, but also strategically sound. Trade happens only because of two reasons. One is because of economic reasons. You are competitively advantageous, you are actually the cheapest person in the room, and you can sell it. Or it's strategic, geopolitically strategic, that you want to take somebody on and make them a partner and move on and forth. Today, if you look at what India's trade in terms of partnership is, a lot of it has moved to countries like UAE, countries like Saudi Arabia, which were not on the radar for many, many years. They are not just dominated by the closeness and the proximity of the geographical proximity of India, which creates certain amount of security, but they also have a lot of Indian origin population there. They are the buffer, they are the superheroes, as Mr. Modi calls it, from Rajdoot to Rashtradoot. This entire concept is spanning around where they are diplomats in their own way for the country. So geopolitically, I would just like to say that their contribution and India's contribution is going to translate into trade going forward. We can give certain things to the world, but at the end of the day, we are also there to receive a lot from the world as well. I don't think trade is a problem. It's just a question of focusing on the right partners, which I think is going to happen going forward. Last point, we are also looking a bit forward, as India is looking a bit forward. Africa, there's already investments which they have invested not just in projects but in people, in actual relationship building that's already happening. They've actually started building bridges with the developed economies, but also I see a lot of outreach to the Asian and the ASEAN economies as well. Becoming a regional superpower is something which is acceptable to the global community because multilateralization is basically the norm rather than unipolar world, which was the case when US was dominating. So India is very nicely positioned, and trade, I believe, will happen where it sees the most economic advantage and strategic advantage for itself going forward. That mix of 10 countries where it's importing and exporting will dramatically change depending on the strategic interest of the country, which is the smarter part of it. Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
Wonderful, sir. And I think every country is going to look to their own benefit. I was only talking to a bureaucrat from the Netherlands, and I said, what do you find very typical about India? And he said that if I'm talking to an American, he tell me, how did you behave badly with so-and-so person, or how could you do this? Whereas when I meet an Indian, he will say, okay, you have a problem with him, but I don't have a problem with him. So he said that is what is the Indian foreign policy at this point in time. I don't have a problem, so why should you drag me into your problem, and I will not drag you into my problem.
And just one small point here. There was a very big masterstroke because in crisis, you actually get tested the most. During the COVID time, not just vaccines were given out to needy countries, but effective vaccines were given out to needy countries. The Chinese did give out vaccines and they turned out to be not so effective, and unfortunately, I was in Singapore and we had a lot of Chinese population. They actually said only want the Chinese virus, a vaccine, but at the end of the day, they lost out and they had to take the usual ones. This is where India has actually benefited, and believe it or not, there is a lot of trade that follows when you have development through this aids and other intangible benefits that go out, which create tangible trade flows in future. So that is where I think India has been very different from the Americans, the developed countries, and even China.
Yeah. Captain, I'd like to continue this discussion and then go on to your domain. We have tariff barriers and non-tariff barriers. I always was of the view that after the Doha round of 2013, we will not really see tariff barriers, and we keep on seeing more and more non-tariff barriers, and India has introduced non-tariff barriers in a very effective way, if one looks at it. So, but this current tariff war that we are expecting, or the current tensions in the tariff, and especially between two giants like the US and China, how do you think that's going to hurt all of us, or is it going to hurt any of us?
So I always look at these tariff barriers as a global chessboard. It's more like two people trying to onto it. I'll just start with a very small example from what we faced. So we were building an IoT product, and for that IoT product, we needed a semiconductor, which of course is only available in China. And then, as we could have it, the American tariff barriers came about. So the import was kind of halted. And it was all panic stations within our design team, within our homes. It was like, how are we going to take this product to the market? About a month into the story, we get a mail from another company, says that you're looking for this kind of a product. Again, this company is from China. Name changed, product name changed, description changed, logos changed, and the product is sent across to us. Okay. So I don't think tariff barriers are kind of a limiting force, even if you want to think of it in that particular fashion. Okay. I would say that trade always finds a way to kind of adapt, and you'll find these patterns everywhere. Right? In terms of the US and China standoff, and you want to call it, the funny part is that this is a gold mine for us if we position ourselves exceptionally well. And we'll have to play to our strengths. We'll have to find a way to increase our domestic production, increase our export capabilities, focus parts of the world. Okay. And maybe if possible also try and build a trade agreement with China so that we have a favorable way of kind of working and utilize this potential to ourselves. But this window for us to do it is not too large, and it's exceptionally, it's very, very important for us to position ourselves. So if we want to be a winner out of this all, we'll have to stay at it.
Very true, very good, wonderful. I think that's too much of tensions and tariffs and everything. Let me go to Mr. Swami. Sir, a new perspective to today's session. Can you actually just explain to us what is all this that you guys are doing? I don't understand it. I keep only coming to what is this? What is the full form of this and why are they doing this? And then when I got a call from Vandana Agarwal to say, please an aircraft, something out of a landlocked place like it. So, can we use your presence over here to learn a little bit more about what you are doing?
Firstly, I think it's wonderful to be here. I think wonderful to be amongst the young kids here, rightly young, more energetic here. So I never missed an opportunity when I am invited to a university or college to speak. So thank you for the invitation first. I think first, secondly, what we need to really look at what's happening in India and how India is shaping up in terms of reforms that are happening. One important development is the setting up of Gujarat International Finance Tax. We call it GMU. It's the short form, but the full form is Gujarat International Finance Tax. And within that, we have the thing called International Finance at the same time. What has happened in the past is because India has exchange control regulations. Many of you, if you want to say travel overseas, you have to convert Indian rupees into dollars, and there are limits on how much you can convert. So India has those exchange control regulations, and that has in the past made trade. Because our laws are so difficult that everyone has migrated, right? So, I think our attempt now is really to bring all of that back to India. The idea is that we will make our laws easier, and India, the exchange product is there in mainland India will not as far as EXIM is concerned. That is the idea. And as far as IFSC is concerned, they have come out with a very innovative framework for chip leasing and chip acquisition leasing. So what we can do is when entities come and set a presence here, they can actually buy a ship and they can actually deploy it on trade. They can lease it out to entities. It doesn't mean that the ship has to come into a landlocked area. It can still be on the shore and it can be on the books of the country. But that has by putting this business into IFSC, you are able to kind of do the business much more efficiently. So that's what is happening as far as UHC IFSC is concerned. I'm happy to take any other questions.
Since Mr. Swami has said it, happy to take any questions. Would anyone at this point in time like to come in and ask a question or two? We'd be very happy to do it before we move on to the second part of our panel. Even the people sitting in the front can ask. It's not only for the backbenchers to ask questions. And I'm sure it would make it much more interactive for us. Can somebody give him a mic, please?
Yeah, see. I'm at the bottom and power switch.
Yeah. Good evening, Mr. Chairman. So my question, I'm sure it will also interest many others.
Sir, very respectfully, could you introduce yourself for the benefit
Okay, okay. My name is Mukeshwari. I teach the shipping and port management here in GMU as well as in Adani University. So what we have been kind of seeing is that most city for attracting the tonnages to come and register here in India? Does it make any significant difference now?
Sure. Yes, I can answer that. Yes, I believe there is the framework which has been issued by the new very well thought of what you probably spend there. So that's one big reason why you come. As far as gift city is concerned, specifically there are very tax incentives. So there is other countries are introducing taxes. Dubai has introduced taxes, right? And and there's some concept of a minimum tax which is globally happening is going to go up to 15%. So by coming to gift city, you can actually benefit out of the favorable tax regime which India is offering mainly to promote shipping coming back. And I think that's also significantly improving the cost of operations. And of course, the most important part, as Mr. also mentioned, is the talent. We have amazing talent. We are exporting talent, and some of the talent, future talent is here. I think all of that will actually help grow this region grow. So I think it's going to make us.
Thank you. Anyone else, please? Yeah.
Hello. So, sir, my question to you is that in 2025 Union budget, the Ministry of Shipping has allocated to most of the demands of the
past we have not really done so well, so we want to promote security. And there are a number of incentives which they have kind of given. There is a maritime development fund which has been set up. There is a plan to provide funding, overall funding, and there are these opportunities which have been created. And if you read the other parts of the budget also, there are other incentives which are created, which actually help you to actually set up a business here in terms of financing. So for shipbuilding, what is the biggest thing? Right? You need financing, and there are policies, there are proposals which actually bring down the overall cost of financing if you do it. So I think there are a number of proposals which have actually been proposed.
Thank you, sir.
I'll go ahead, or is there anyone who would like to intervene now? Okay, so let's change the tone of the whole thing. Sandeep? How does it make international trade more efficient? How does it really bring about efficiency from a logistic perspective? And how do you think it can help us get more competitive?
So when we talk about technology, technology just does not change an industry. It basically goes and redefines it. Okay, and for logistics and international trade, it is one of the differentiating factors in whether you would be the leader of the pack or you would fall behind. Let's take basic examples. Right? Let's talk about customer experience. On the logistics downstream. That means more or less at a cost which has to be extremely efficient, right? Because we are a very price sensitive population. That means you cannot do it just by trying to, optimize how technology is adding value to everything that's going on. Now, shipping, maritime, logistics has not been the biggest or the quickest of the block as far as adopting technology is concerned. But yes, with the with the adoption of technology, earlier when you used to talk to someone, you would say, "Where's my cargo?" He says, "Nahi malum sir." That's the first thing that would come out of anyone's mouth. Sab nahi malum. But today with IoT, with AI, with smart containers, you know exactly where your containers, you know exactly where your cargo is, and you can have that with pinpoint accuracy, right? So the time of navigating through blind spots is kind of the days of yore. And when you're talking about stuff like cargo movement was more or less intuitive by nature, right? So we felt that okay, there's an opportunity for me to trade with this particular location. Let me go ahead and send a ship there and get cargoes from there. But today things are changing. Right? There are these freight platforms which go ahead and do a matching of things, of cargo to ship owners, and that's kind of enabling trade in a great way. Then of course, we have heard on the academic side a lot of buzzwords like optimization, decarbonization, carbon credits, green incentives, and process optimizations. But those are no longer buzzwords. They're actually business models which are in play today, which a lot of the leading shipping companies are kind of adopting to bring down their costs. I can tell you numbers directly from the companies which we work with. We have in effect been able to give companies at least a 20 to 30% reduction in their operating costs, close to about 30% reduction in the time resources spent doing not so important stuff, so that they can focus on important things that are going to happen and make the business even more better. So if you want to win in global trade, technology needs to be adopted. It is not an option, it is a must, it's a necessity. And what it will do is it will eliminate inefficiencies. It will improve the customer experience. It will help you make better data-driven decisions. And it will help you leverage automation and AI. And that's the way forward for us.
I'm tempted to share something with the audience over here, which Mukesh Bhai and I have experienced, that when we talked about international cargo, movement across the docks and customs in the 80s, if I could handle an import consignment in less than 21 days, I was a good custom broker.
Absolutely.
And on export cycle, if I could do it in 14 days, I was a good custom broker. And today, the average is 108 and 72 hours. So it's not only a simplification of the regulations, but it's also a lot to do with the contribution that this segment has done, for all of us. Yeah. Punitji, I'd like to ask you a very different question, because we have such a lot of youth over here. When I look at you, I think there are a lot of people in the audience who would look at you as inspirational. That how do I go into a different geography, a different culture, a different milieu, and how do I make a success of myself? If you could give a few tips to them.
Yeah, thank you so much for those kind words. I think it's always interesting. I actually believe that the success that we talk about is very much a factor of so many things happening together. Every time if you just see the kind of factors that need to come together for one person to be successful or a company to be successful, if you just look back, it's quite a lot of people. In my case, exactly the same thing. The industry has been unbelievable. There have been so many people there. What I have always believed, and I still believe, is that I never will have all the answers, but I will always have the ability to ask all the questions. And that curiosity has kept me going. When I started this particular venture, which I'm doing now, teaching geopolitical risks and shipping in various universities, I actually did a course, a certificate in geopolitical analysis from Florida Atlantic University just a year ago. Some of those pieces of the puzzle, because I'm so much glued to the maritime industry, I need to learn from what the macro space is doing. And I actually did that. And I think the industry will give you more opportunities. The Institute of Knowledge Brokers, where I'm involved, Krishnan is involved, many of us are involved, Amit is involved. All of us actually find that we are always looking for opportunities to constantly learn. And that gives me the ability to, in fact, the question that this gentleman asked about the Indian shipowning or about the tax benefits is also one additional learning that I've benefited from this particular audience and this particular event. Every single event is there for a particular outcome which will help you and which has always helped me. The other thing that I would just like to mention here a little bit about the willingness or the fearlessness of trying new things within an organization. I'll give you my own example. I was with Torvald Klaveness, a Norwegian company in Singapore, for about 16 years. And I changed 6 jobs within the company. I started as a commercial cargo procurement person. I eventually went on to run the director because I adapt new ideas and try to change it. So please don't try and straitjacket yourself into one particular position in the industry. I generally adaptive changes that will happen around you, but at the same time, small enough for you to be able to tap into the network that you build and ask them the right questions and get the right answers. And my motto to the students is very simple. If you ask a question, there's a 50% chance that you'll get a right answer. If you don't ask a question, there's 100% chance you'll not get the right answer. That's the only thing that keeps you going. Curiosity, it may kill the cat, but it keeps us alive. Alright? So I think that's pretty much, I would say, the way I did it. And of course, biggest thing is mentors and people who have always guided me. I always be thankful to them and I continue to meet and learn from them every single day. That's all I can say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Puneet, I'm tempted to say, that curiosity skills the cat, So if you can continue to remain curious, you will skill yourself much more,
No, I just wanted to mention one more thing that you yourself mentioned. This why, the question of asking why is important. In fact, the course that I run, eventually in the last section, I talk about connecting headlines to bottom lines. Because every headline has got a bottom line implication. And my entire course is focused on a student or a company professional able to decipher what is going to be my business impact from a headline that Trump has decided to ban paper straws and get to plastic straws again. What does that mean to me and my business or my competitor's business? That's the question that you need to ask. And even as a student, you need to start asking these questions. I'm sure you do. But going forward, that's the way we go forward. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Dr. Rahul, we are from the maritime sector. And how do you actually see us as a sector taking all the challenges that we spoke about ahead? How will we contribute to it? Or what are the things we can do to ensure that the journey remains smooth for all of us? Wishful thinking, but...
As of now, I can relate very well with my students because normally what happens in a classroom is the professor is standing and students are sitting. And professor is always asking so difficult questions, so we all are like anxious to answer difficult questions. Our perspective means you mean to say academics or...
Yeah, academics. How do you think we as a maritime sector, the academicians in the maritime sector, can help face the challenges that we are seeing presently or what are going to come up in the future?
Yeah, so I believe that research is the way out. When you say about academicians, I will refer to it the research, and our task is to bring that inquisitiveness, that interest of the students to find. For example, we all know that ports are great enablers, and we have developed this model of public-private partnership. But students, and we should all work together for research onto that. Also, another interesting, because we all are talking about shipping, I believe shipping is a very high risk business, and so globally we have seen it's very difficult to get funds for shipping. A lot of things are done by MFSCA, but in any case, we have seen a lot of history and success post a shipping IPO. So this is a huge challenge, and governments can do something to some extent, but they cannot do everything. So how do we address this challenge? How do we, prepare our leaders, our students in a way that they would eventually contribute to such important challenges that we have? So that's, I believe, is our contribution or role.
In fact, just as Puneet and I changed curiosity kills the cat, we also need to remember when we say that behind every successful man there's a woman, or behind every successful woman there's a man, that's actually behind every success there are innumerable failures. And as long as we can address and analyze and we can learn from those failures, I think we can all move on. Yes?
Yeah, I just wanted to add one small thing, and this is something that you guys cannot take away. And try and talk to people who are not in shipping to explain to them what shipping does. When I actually told my relatives that me and Amit both are in shipping, they probably thought that we, move sofa sets from one place to another. But seriously, I'm just saying that an industry that carries more than 90% or nearly 90% of global trade and emits 3% of global emissions will normally get a pat on the back from everybody in the room. But we get this tag of global polluters. An industry that basically was delivering during the COVID pandemic where roads were doing an amazing job of getting everything into your supermarkets or into your homes. Lots and lots of good things the shipping industry does. It doesn't talk about it, it doesn't market itself well. And who can market it? You guys. You are the brand ambassadors going forward in the future generation. Make sure that everybody that you speak to knows the value that the shipping industry creates for a common man. I'm not even talking for a business. For a common man, you and I get so much out of this business. Every single thing in this room has come because some ship has shipped it from somewhere. That's the value that shipping industry provides, and we must be proud of the fact that we belong to the industry and work in this industry. You guys should all take this series of pride all the way further as you go along in the industry. That's the only request I have. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. And last, I'd like to go back to Mr. Swami. Dr. Robin did mention that there's always a crunch in the funds for the shipping and those things. How do you feel if we will be contributing to the maritime trade and the foreign trade and to, of course, our future generations over here?
Sure. See, firstly, I think for ship acquisition and financing, there is a wonderful opportunity which can happen from GHG. Usually, I don't want to make when you're buying a ship, and most of the ship, as the other gentleman asked, shipbuilding is not happening in India. You end up buying the ship from overseas. When you buy the ship from overseas, and if, for example, you set up a company in India, there is a 5% GST, let's assume it's a GST, there is a 5% GST on the entire value of the ship. And $100 million of ship, 5%, $5 million is just the tax which goes. Right? And think about it from a financial modeling standpoint, 5 million going in tax. You can of course recover it by way of future recoveries, etc. But why to deploy something upfront $5 million? If you set up something in GMU, you save the $5 million. So from a financial modeling standpoint, and people are looking at it to see that we want to put something here and we again in terms of say borrowing, if you are going to borrow from foreigners, non-residents, and if you do it from India, there is a clear withholding tax which comes in. And when you make a payment of interest on the borrowings of non-resident is subject to tax. Obviously, the non-resident is subject to tax. He's not going to give it free of cost to you. He will say, you bear the tax, I don't want to bear. It's India tax, so take the cost. So your cost of borrowing will obviously go up if you're borrowing from, say, mainland India. But what GIFT offers is that if you borrow from GIFT, I mean, it's not very different, right? From here versus setting up a shop in maybe about a few kilometers from here. If you set up an entity there and if you borrow from there, that entity, there is no, again, the non-resident not subject to tax, but your cost of borrowing comes down. So there are various other models which we can first discuss offline of how to really structure and make the overall cost of funding be efficient. So by all of those, say financial planning and structure, you can actually make it very effective.
Thank you so much. And is there anyone who would like to still ask a question? Anybody has a question, or then can I request all of you to join me in a big? Oh yeah, there's a question here. Sorry.
Hello, myself. Even by IFSCA, there are constraints from the DG shipping compliances, and that's why, as someone earlier asked, people go outside India for flagging vessel. So, is there any such movement?
So as far as RFSC is concerned, it is one, as Aspu Sharma mentioned before this meeting, it's a unified regulator. It pulls in all the financial regulators. But as far as DG shipping is concerned, which is more the regulator for the registration initiatives, that is still not part of IFSC. You still need to go to DG shipping for registration of ship. I think industry has time and again said that it is a very difficult regulator to really go to registration, it takes time. But IFSC wants to, of course, promote ship leasing, ship owning from gift shipping. So what they have done is they have asked DG Shipping to actually set up a shop in an IFSC in gift shipping. And Sandeep is I think in his own office, I think in the same building, they have been allotted space. And very soon they are going to set up a shop here or set up an office here. So what we expect is that when they are close to the industry,
Can I thank Mr. Samir Shah for amazing moderation? Thank you.
We extend our heartfelt I request everyone to please extend a huge round of applause.
The discrimination against our own staff. No, no, no.
Group. Come in the middle. Income is आगे. As a moderator, the same come. आइए सर. Come. Thank you so much.
I would now request one of our esteemed guests and faculty to join in for a group photograph.
We can have it up.
Now, let us move to our second panel discussion on direct impact of EXIM business risks and challenges. Our moderator. Mr. Krishnan Subramanian is an expert in supply chain management, logistics, and commercial. Sir specializes in tanker and liquid cargo logistics in the UAE and India. Sir is also the International Vice Chairman of the Institute of Chartered Ship Brokers and a member of the ICC UAE's Steering Committee for Customs and Trade Facilitation. Sir's experience includes key roles at Bharat Petroleum, Shell Petroleum and others. A fellow of the ICS and an esteemed trainer for organizations like Maersk. And Sir also teaches at institutions like SP Jain School of Global Management and Gujarat Maritime University. Please join us in welcoming Mr. Krishnan Subramanian. Over to you, sir.
For both the panels looks similar. The whole idea is that the first panel discussed more from a macro point of view, from a policy point of view, and from a global point of view. And what the second panel would focus is at a micro level, based on what is happening currently. And here again, I would like to call upon the students here, the bright students over here, to take note of this in terms of, can I ask a question, that how many of you are interested or already having startups? The students. So, when you look at say, a general philosophy in terms of doing any action is either to get rid of a pain or to get some gain, right? Any basic need to get rid of a pain. Basic thing we look for is that what pain point can you alleviate? How can we get rid of that pain in a very short span of time? Okay. So this panel. We're going to listen to where it introduction. I would briefly introduce the panelists, but I would request when you start talking, please incorporate your experience and the relevance which you are bringing into the points here. we're starting with Amit Gaza, and I've known him for 25 years now, right from his Dubai times before he moved back to India. And then, of course, in his role with PwC, also I'm associated through the Transport Group as an advisor there for GIFT, etc. And then we have Mr. Tapasvi from Arvind Limited as Vice President for EXIM Commercial and Logistics. And then, of course, Captain Ramesh Kumar with the Kanu Shipping agents. He brings in with experience as a master mariner, and then, of course, into the agency business, which is aspects of discussion today. I would say, Amit, if you can just tell us briefly about your experience in the industry and current areas of expertise which you're bringing in, especially from the finance side. And what are your opening thoughts on Bharat's vision?
Thank you very much, Krishna. Good afternoon, everyone. India-focused trade, which is obviously the first movers to come in. It's heartening to see that people are now taking a more long-term view of IFSC and looking at moving their international operations and businesses into IFSC. Thank you.
So, Tapasvi, so from the same point of view, your Bharat's vision is?
Sure. See, before that, sorry. Yeah. Okay. So, before coming to the problems and what the industry is facing currently, I would like to ask a few questions to students of second years, who are exposed to EXIM, just to open up so that both they'll ask back questions. So that's the reason. Any of the second year students here? I mean, these questions are related to the problems the industry is facing currently. How many second year students are here? Okay, well, do you know the yes, gross mass, yeah. Okay. And what does Form 13 stand for? Does EBRC stand for? Well, is she a student or a lecturer? So, see, why I'm asking these questions is transportation and warehousing to EXIM expert in the recent past. I have started with transportation. When I was doing that as transport head of Ultratech, they were telling that, do you place trucks? ये तो गाड़ी लगाता है. Then when I went to warehousing, they told that ये तो माल उठाता है. I mean, he loads the material. But when I came to EXIM, that is my career in Bacardi. That is where I started handling EXIM. That is when I got the importance that, well, he's an EXIM expert, the trade expert. So that made a wholesome person, in terms of knowledge and the recognition you get. So you're very lucky that you have chosen this field, actually speaking, because I'll tell you the problem. Currently, what the industry is facing is the tag for recruiting an EXIM expert who can handle your export process or import process in the industry. For an LC documentation expert, the tag is 4 months by the HR. 4 months. That's how the industry is deprived of because the talent is not there. So the questions I asked you is because to compel you to learn more and concentrate on the other side also. Yes, shipping, that's right. But for the ships to sail, we need manufacturers to manufacture and export. So when he said that, Samir said that behind every man there's a woman and behind every woman there's a man. And nowadays, behind every man there's a man and behind every woman there's a woman. So I can say that behind every ship there is you. You will make it happen. So that is how you have to expose yourself, gain knowledge. Now coming back to, say for example, the issues currently we are facing. One is the dwell times. If we compare the dwell times, can anyone tell me the dwell time? What dwell time means in the industry?
Dwell time, dwell time for containers?
So that's the reason there's a severe knowledge gap among students. Okay, I mean the education we are imparting. So we have to be more industry specific. So these kind of EBRC, dwell times, ORM, outward remittance, inward remittance, these are all related to EXIM processes. Not only shipping, but these are all related to EXIM processes. Starting from your inward remittance to outward remittance and issuing EBRC. So these are the kind of things you have to get exposed to. Now dwell times, if you see, the Shanghai port, it handles almost, I'll tell you, currently what we are facing is the Indian ports, the dwell times is 3.5 days. I mean the tag for a container to come and unload is 3.5 days, whereas in Shanghai it is 1 day. So that is the reason the Indian ports also have to improve in terms of their efficiencies. The second is, when I talk about top performers, that is the Gujarat Gateway Terminals of India and JNPA. That is clocking around 50 hours as a dwell time. Whereas the gateway of that is Adani CFS, it's in import, it is clocking around 25 hours. So these dwell times decide for an exporter which port to go to and how do you export in shorter time. So that is one thing. Second is the issues currently we are facing as an industry is VGM, Form 13, Leo, EBRC, all these systems are disintegrated. Well, all these systems have to speak to each other for the exporter to benefit and, to contribute to the dream of the industry. So that's the second part. Second is the surcharges what we are facing in the shipping industry as exporters and importers are. Ad hoc surcharges, that is GRI. Can anyone tell me what is GRI? General rate increase. PSS? Wonderful. BAF? Wonderful. Okay. So, as industry, as the EXIM experts, for the business you have to give a budget at the beginning of the year that for the annual budget, this would be my export budget as well as import budget, the costing. But what happens is when these PSS and GRI come in, your whole budget goes for a toss. So that is where smart contracting also is required. So that is one of the issues being faced. And last is BIS. Currently, government has mandated BIS. BIS is very important for Indian industry to safeguard Indian standards. But the thing is, we don't have experts who can come and say that there's a consortium of BIS and companies say that they can deliver this to the exporters are doing from abroad. So these kind of things are currently the issues being faced by the exporters, Indian exporters.
Thank you, Mr. Kalasri. So, Captain, coming to you, when you are involved in terms of ships agencies and where ultimately the goods are there, but you're directly dealing with what is there presently at the port. So, what would be your thoughts in terms of the major issues which are there?
Thank you, sir. First of all, thank you, GMU, CN Beyond, Captain Rana, and ICS for inviting me for this august gathering. And this topic is very close to me. So, as you have seen, Amit has hired a vessel. Tapasvi has done the remaining work till it reaches the port and probably entered the gate. And now my role starts. And that is where Mr. Krishnan has asked me what are the challenges that you are facing in the port. And we are all talking about Maritime India Vision 2030, 2027. So let us talk 2030, which is just 5 years from now, 4 years from now. So in Maritime India Vision 2030, the government has given a target of 3 major ports to be completing the target of around 300 million metric tons per annum. As of now, we have none. Probably Paradip will be the first one to achieve that, and most likely after that JNP and Kandla. So the challenges that we are facing, sir, is to start with very basic. We have infrastructures. We would like to increase it to reach maximum, let's say 300 million metric ton for this particular time till 30. But are we also addressing the issues which will help them to enhance these capabilities, such as automation is first thing that I would add, that there are many things which can be easily handled. Like say most of the ports still doing, let's say, port meeting every day. And we are deciding, okay, which vessel to come in, which vessel to go out, when is it likely to finish, when can be the pilot booked. Everything is so manual. I'm easily anticipating at least 2 hours per vessels can be easily saved. Calculate one, let's say Mumbai port or JNP PC port with 12 berth, multiplied by let's say 13 major ports and around 20 odd EXIM ports wherein most of the trades happens. 2 hours per day or per vessel if it is saved. How many hours of productivity? We achieve 300 million metric ton without doing much. You have rail connectivity which can probably be thought of when we are starting the ports. I'm talking about even the new ports which are coming up. Are we thinking about rail and road connectivity in the beginning? Is port we are making it, and later on we are thinking, okay, where can we add this? Whether it is Diggy, whether it is Vizhingham, which is coming up very nicely. But we are thinking afterwards. I think easily it can be integrated in the plan. And then probably the infrastructures with the growth can be anticipated and it can further enhance the capabilities. So these are the basic things that I would say which can be easily done. You can do it more with the technology like say twin model. I mean, you can have a virtual model of the port and you can easily decide which vessel can come where, which trucks can be utilized for which vessel. We have, let's say, 4 or 5 trucks. Is this truck only can handle this particular vessel or all these trucks are required to handle? Are we utilizing those resources? And when we are talking about sustainability, green shipping, blue economy, all those things can be easily handled, but are we doing it? Question mark. So there are n number of things I can go on. So let us get to the same. Thank you.
Right. Thanks for that opening comments from all of you. So I would like to throw a question to the students here. For any trade to happen, there are 3 things which needs to move. 3 aspects. What are those? Can somebody tell me? You will get a clue from what has already been discussed and the profile of the panelists here. Three things have to move for a trade to happen. What are those? What has to move in a trade? Yeah.
Just we have put all the information in one platform. Like the sir said that EXIM is different, Form 13 is different, and we have to.
Very good. Information is one flow. What is the second one? What are the other two things?
Then the connectivity, transport connectivity.
So that is the goods, movement of goods, right? That is number two. What's number three? What has to move for a trade to happen? Yes? Excellent. Right? So always keep. Even when we purchase goods or sell goods or services, these three things have to move. As a customer, we demand that my Swiggy has to reach in 10 minutes, right? We are following that. We look at information which is available online, tracking tools, etc. So that's the first thing which is there. We are no longer in a reactive mode. Number two, the goods have to move. There is no other way. That's why we talked about, and Puneet mentioned about the Shipping for Good Collective, where we are not advertising or blowing our own trumpet. As in terms of goods have to move physically, whatever you do, ultimately. Number three is money. For trade to happen, money has to move. Right, so if you map these three things in whatever you do, in whatever business you are in, whichever side of the table you are in, you've got 50% correct there. So from that perspective, Amit, so trade finance, right? So the challenges continue. So when we talk about money flow, first of all, there is money to be exchanged as a consideration in a contract between somebody who's selling the goods and who's buying the goods. That's number one. Number two, of course, is the money flow for trade. But let us now address first the trade finance part of it. So, trade finance as well as shipping finance in India remains at a nascent stage. There's still a lot of work to be done there. I was in a project with respect to electronic bills of lading where where we are not able to put all the parties together to agree to get to the next step in terms of the trade finance part of it. So how do you see that this is evolving, and what are the steps on the ground which you think that will support the overall trade growth?
I don't know what's your experience with the finance from banks, but there are obviously various types of financings which bank undertake. Sorry, is it on? Can you hear me? Yeah. Sorry. So there are various types of trade financing which banks enable. So depending on the type of goods, the size of the shipment, and the duration for which the finance is required, you can have pre-shipment finance, you can have supply chain finance. Obviously, a lot of these are dependent on your own balance sheet, your own assets on the ground. But typically, what we see in India is that there's very little appetite for commodity-based finance, where the primary recourse for the bank is the asset. While it does happen in some of the exports where the banks are happy to take a call on the asset value of the value of the commodity itself and lend against it, typically we find that banks ask for quite a lot of collateral, or they change the amount of loan they give compared to the value of the goods, depending on the profile of the customers. This is because typically banks lack the expertise to actually take over these goods in international jurisdiction and sell them and recover their money. So if you look at international trade finances, if you look at SocGen or any of the international banks, they have dedicated trade finance teams who have a deep understanding of the commodity itself, just like ship finance. So that is a missing link in the Indian banking system, both ship finance and trade finance, where you don't have dedicated teams. And that's one of the reasons why we have not moved into financing third-party trade. So if something is moving from country A to B and you're doing it from India, that is something you would rarely do. People would typically set up something in Dubai or Singapore to do third-party trades. And again, that's because the banks are unable to get any collateral, obviously, in India for anything which is third-party trade, because the goods are moving from place A to place B.
There are banks in Singapore who would fund you up to 90% of the value of the goods if they are confident of the movement of the commodity. Because they know that even if there is a default in anybody, in any of the parties in the chain, they have the ability to track, they have the ability to repossess the goods and actually ensure that their interests are protected. That's something which the Indian banks have, and hopefully with IFSC coming in both in trade and shipping finance, they should be seen in. Also something very related, a lot of people here raise their hands that they are starting some startups. So in which field are you actually in these startups? So what are you exactly doing with these startups, if I may? Yeah?
Actually, I'm having a startup of freight forwarding only.
Freight forwarding, okay.
We do provide freight forwarding custom broker services.
Okay.
We transportation and warehousing.
Okay.
And we do have 2 to 3 group companies with us, and we do partnership with all of them and provide all the 3PL services.
So you already started and yes. So how many containers have you handled?
As of now, it has been just few months that have been into completely into it.
Okay.
And on an average, if I say monthly, it's around 30 to 40 TUs.
30 to 40 TUs a month. That's very good.
From past just few months only.
Okay. And are you giving credit to your customers in terms of rate?
No, I am not giving as of now.
Okay.
Because
that's an important part of financing.
Yes, that is. But once I will have ample of amount of capital with me.
Okay.
Then I will for sure.
Okay. Just to let you know, this is something which the ministry is also looking at, and it's something which is under the radar. It's small startups like you. People are just starting up, be it in shipbroking, be it in freight forwarding. How to fund them? Because the top 5 companies in the next 20 years in India have still not been listed, or they're nowhere in the radar. That's the scope of the growth. So I think the ministry, the government, etc., you would have heard of a lot of funding incubation for shipping. A lot of people are trying to give money to startups to see that they grow in a proper manner. So this is something quite encouraging if there's a proper freight forwarding company which has been set up. But as you grow, you will understand the importance of financing, because you won't be able to survive on a back-to-back basis if you don't give any credit in any of the industries. And financing will become more and more important. Samir here will, of course, on the freight forwarding, he'll have a lot of stories. He's already shared a few with me, but I'm sure he'll have views on this.
No, but to my friend at the back, it's a very dangerous thing. The government is going to I have survived 70 years without credit. I am not supposed to be a financer to the export-import industry. They have sufficient access to funds. But I am unnecessarily being dragged into becoming a banker for them. A banker without any security, a banker without any respect. So it is a very wrong thing to expect that the government money coming to a freight forwarder should be used to finance the exporters and the importers. I beg to differ.
No, I agree, but what percentage of the freight is actually funded with some sort of credit? Approximately, you think? Say in Gujarat region.
The biggest mistake that the present freight forwarding companies are doing is they are negotiating with exporters on credit. They are not negotiating with exporters on their ability, on the freight rates, on other things. And exporters also, first question, how much credit will you give me? So it's a very wrong period at this point of time.
Sorry, we have an exporter.
I'll have So currently we are not looking at any sort of credit from the freight forwarders. Our payment cycle is 21 days. Okay, that's the credit we have. Usually in transport, if you see, not in freight forwarding, but you see in transport, that is trucking, the credit period which is extended by the organizations is almost ranging from 60 days to 90 days. And all the reimbursements to the CHS there is no way that we can pay. We have to open them multiple bank accounts, which is not possible. That's the reason we go through the
My only reaction would be that you have survived nearly 100 years because you have followed this policy. We survived 70 years and 100 years because we followed the same policy. 21 days is not credit, 21 days is a payment cycle.
Correct.
But when one talks about 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, that is credit.
But even the 21 days would need to be funded.
Yeah, so it's maybe if it is for working capital but not for funding, that is what I try to
for the working capital.
Break up.
Fair.
Well, for the discussion, in transport, again in domestic transport, they have bill discounting, the banks give discounting. As soon as you raise the invoice, as soon as you execute a shipment, you generate an LR. Based on the LR, even in export and import, as soon as you provide the FCR or as soon as you provide the acknowledgement that you have handled the material, there should be financing by the banks in this sector also.
No, fully agree. Samir bhai, I was also coming more from the fact that, for example, you've been in freight forwarding for quite a few years. Today is the era of globalization, internationalization. If someone wants to open up, say, an office in Africa and start forwarding from there, if someone has a plan where he wants to expand into other geographies, someone wants to fund even the working capital, the running cost.
To realize that this is not for us to fund clients, but it is for us to run our businesses in
within the sector, fully.
I know this can become a separate this can happen in that space as well. But just to summarize there, in any trade or any business, I was in a similar discussion on late time and leverage just 2 days back on the pros and cons of when we say, oh, I'm getting additional free time, nothing is free. Just like a ship owner is factoring that cost into the freight when there's an additional free time being given, or an airline fare factors all those things when something is being given free, especially in credit days also it is not free. The person who's giving credit is factoring it into the overall cost. Okay, so just moving on from there, so Tapaswi.
And also you say you want payment of prepaid or collect. So collect itself the credit from the shipping line. You don't need for the exporter to pay the money or portion of it upfront.
So that depends, in terms of the shipping line, most of them you have to put the money upfront before the VM. So
yeah, so if this is for a forwarder, it is a risk. But game is going on the time because my shipping line itself is asking the shipper whether you want to give in prepaid or collect.
So coming back to the point of discussion today, so India, of course, we have the aspiration in terms of being a global manufacturing hub. The indigenous demand itself is high, and in fact, that is what is driving the growth as compared to the nearest one with China. There's already an alarm in terms of declining indigenous consumption there. So looking at, again, let me draw a comparison of, say, Dubai, Jebel and then Singapore, right? Where there have always been infrastructure which has been given for importance in terms of first mile and last mile. Before, so you can have a port which is handling the latest 24,000 TEU vessel with so many containers coming in and out. You have the best of turnaround times, etc. But if you don't have the so again, you can see what Etihad Rail is doing now in terms of the rail connectivity in the Middle East for the first time. So there's so much which is being invested there. So how would you relate that to the aspirations on imports and exports?
See, gearing up. And Mundra is doing a fantastic job, that ICDs are doing a fantastic job in supporting the trade. There is, interrail movement between Nhava Sheva and ICD Thar as well as Mundra, because we always connect our material to Thar or Sanand, and from there it gets exported from Mundra. So that's the advantage we are getting currently. The infrastructure is there. but our systems are not ready to take that impact. One is that. And second is the visibility in terms of shipping and trade. Say, for example, I was talking about Form 13. Why I talked about Form 13 is it will impact the exporters, and the visibility also will impact the exporters. I'll give you a classical example. We had to supply one of the containers, export one of the containers to one of the customers in Australia. So there was the time given for manufacturing has a lead time of 60 days. So in that 45 days is for production, at least 45 to 50 days, and then you have this 10 days of shipping. So the customer told it's a nominated shipment, we had to give a vessel, we had to connect to that vessel on a particular day on 13th. So we gave it to the CHA, the forwarder, and the complex systems in India, we have ODEX, where the shipping lines nominate a website wherein you have to go and file your VGM as well as Form 13. So in one of the cases, the forwarder forgot to upload the Form 13. Because of that, the container got shut out. The container could not onboard. And for this, the impact we got is almost $25,000 of fine. So these kind of issues, when we don't have these systems integrated and we don't talk to each other, that is where the business goes for a loss and the exporter takes a back step. So when these systems like Form 13 I've talked about, then I'm also talking about EGM, Export Gateway Manifest. Now, how does Export Gateway Manifest relate to finance? That's because when EGM is done by the shipping line, most of the ports, the shipping lines are delaying in filing the EGM. So that's the responsibility of the shipping lines. Whereas that is given to the local persons over there and they do it in 10 days and 15 days. How is it impacting the manufacturer or the exporter is, when EGM is filed, only then he is eligible for getting his benefits, that is drawback, ROTAP and ROSTEL. Until the EGM is filed, although I deliver the container today on 13th and it sails, but even after sailing, the EGM is not filed for another 10 days. So this is impacting the working capital of the exporters. So all these policies, if we can integrate these systems, IceGate, EGM, ODEX, then this will definitely improve the export process and this will enable the exports much more. The interest will come. So that is where I stand.
Thank you. Just a quick question from an academic point of view, Dr. Rahul and Dr. Abhay. Are there any projects which the university is doing on these kind of the live issues which the industry is facing? Are there any projects or research where anybody has approached you, or you are doing, or you would like to take this up?
So we have got a lot of smaller projects that students keep on doing during their regular courses. Apart from that, they do identify problems as part of their dissertation. That's the master's thesis that we have. So based on the different problems in terms of they identify with the help of their mentors, there are a few difficult to get things done with reference to response from the industry at times, because we have to match with their availability. Be structured into research projects, which students can take it out with the help of you as well as mentors from yours.
Absolutely. That's a thought which came to my mind, which I'm sure that would benefit. Yes, sir.
So there's one more thing which I forgot to mention is that the operating times of these they say that when we have to go home, we are living in Mumbai, So after 7, they don't take the cutoffs. I mean, they don't accept the shipments. So that's a problem we face in Nava Sheva. When we want to increase our exports, well, that has to be a 24 hours operation. That is what we are, asking from the industry. And second is, say for example, there have nominated CFS by the customers where we have to deliver the material in Nava Sheva. Problem is, there are different CFS, and I have part load which has to be consolidated in one full truck and sent to different CFS because they are nominated by different customers. Now the CFS does not accept a full truckload which has part load truck. That means that I have loaded 5 CFS material into one truck and I cannot send the same truck to multiple CFS giving part loads. Well, these are all the aspects which will save the industry, the logistics cost.
Not facing any imports or any difficulties in imports because the shipping line, rather I would say container line, can charge you anything in the name of destination charges with all the funny terminologies. There is nobody to look at what is the justification for those charges. And since I am in this industry for last 30 years, there is no law. Very or profit margin from the Indian importers. So is the GMU or any working on these aspects to bring such
I'll add on to that. See, well, I haven't spoken about my imports because my imports contribute to 20% overall compared to my exports. But as you said, there's a problem in my provisioning whenever I have to give the provision to the finance for raw material accounting. So they say that, well, you have budgeted $100, for example, and when it comes, when I get the final bill and we do the accounting, it goes to $200. But they say that, where is this $100 from? Why didn't you account for it? I told, well, I don't know what they'll charge. It's a surprise to me every time when a ship lands in India. So you're right, absolutely.
I would like to come back to this point in a minute. I would like to hear Kevin Amrit's point of view from a ship's agency point of view, and how does it connect on the first mile and last mile and the bottlenecks which are there.
So, I'll start with whatever Puswe and Amit was discussing. The vessel, when it's coming for the first time, or probably when the charters are planning to fix the vessel, let's say for Mumbai port, the first thing they ask you is that what would be my PDA, the performa disbursement account. And on those PDAs, you are not only calculating the port tariffs, based on the port tariffs, what will be the load rate, discharge rate, how many days the vessel will stay, what are the other charges, whether it's truck, pilots, whatever. They are basically doing the back-end calculation whether there will be profitability in this voyage. They might not have fixed the vessel. There, the chartering team probably must be doing some sort of calculation that yes, if I do this voyage and this will be the port charges and this will be my probably the revenue out of it. But now coming back to what sir has asked, what is the first mile difficulties that we are facing in India? So in PDA, we might have quoted, let's say the vessel will stay 2 days, and based on that you have sent your PDA and vessel is now fixed. Now vessel has come for actual operation. And now you see that in these ports there is a congestion, which was not probably
assume at that time, or probably the assumption was not up to the level that what is being faced in reality. So those congestion has caused a further, let's say, 2 extra days of loading or discharging operation or cargo operation. So you think the entire calculation will go for a toss, and the voyage which was supposed to make some kind of profit may not either turn out to be a profitable voyage, or maybe it will be a very negative or whatever. Now, why is this happening? Because we do not have much PMS systems in place. If we don't have the infrastructure, we're talking about Sagarmala for so many years now. Port infrastructure has to be developed. Are we really developing it? So if something is broken between, it takes time here. It doesn't being repaired. As I have already mentioned about the road connectivity, rail connectivity, especially in the metropolitan, where you have a port in the metropolitan cities. If you have ODC cargo to connect from Noida or from North India to Mumbai or JNPT, it will take 35 to 60 days, depending upon the size of the ODC parcels. Are we ready for that? 60 days. Do you think that vessels are being fixed for such kind of legs? So there are n number of first mile and end mile connectivity. The entire business will go for a toss if it is not planned well and if you are not keeping the contingency things in hand. So all these things, what I would add to whatever Amit has said.
Thanks, Captain, for that. I would like to comment on this topic about should we have regulation in terms of just take airfare, today's airfare example. Last month, I heard somebody telling that when the Coldplay concert was happening in Mumbai, a normal ticket of 5,000 rupees was selling airfare from Delhi to Bombay, they paid 25,000 or 30,000 rupees. Now, this is a function of pure supply and demand. Same thing happened during COVID. I was working for a trader, moving ISO tanks, chemicals in ISO tanks. A normal freight rate pre-COVID at $2,000 was, it went up to a point of 12,000, 15,000. So my trader told me, you don't worry about what the freight rate is. If I am able to sell it, add it on based on my customers and price, I will pay that freight rate, and he paid up to $15,000. Happened from $2,000 to give the entire supply chain to take that, and then it collapsed. So yes, the certain things can be regulated, but ultimately it will be based on your, as long as you and me are there to buy those things at that, there is a demand. You will see this, then that's what is contributing to the inflation ultimately, right? So I mean, we can have a complete discussion on that. But coming back to, you would like to add anything on that, Amit?
Yeah, that's no. I just wanted to say that this was something we looked at quite closely when we were looking at the Safal report also for IFSC. So if you look at the profits which the container lines made, say after the boom, the reason why most of them have now gone in for large scale ordering of green ships. If you look at the order book for containers, it's quite impressive. CMA, CGM, almost all the major lines have sort of order books. They've entered into alliances, not conferences, because the difference between alliances and conferences is, in alliances they can share the slots, but they have to give their independent rates. In conferences, of course, they're completely merged and they give a single rate to a market, which run foul of all the, which would run foul of all the regulatory agencies, because then it's a cartel that won't be allowed. But obviously alliances are still allowed, and from 2025 new alliances are forming. But so that's something which globally is being allowed, and EU and US and everyone is comfortable with alliances. The point I'm making is that it's not that all the lines are making a lot of money, right, throughout the year. In fact, quite the contrary, the strategy for the lines now is to create large entry barriers for new entrants. And I saw the plan where India is trying to think of 100 ships, container ships, and have their own container line, Bharat container line. It's going to face a lot of resistance in terms of both procuring and profitability, because the way the container trade is now structured, the entire trade is controlled by some of the major lines. There may be some scope here and there for some feeder or shuttle services for someone to get in. And I'm sure you'd have studied the container trade to try and get one or two vessels in. But it's a very close trade now. And most of the time when you enter, you'll bleed red. It is not something which would give you money. What these container lines basically survive on are the occasional spikes, like what happened during COVID or the credit boom, where obviously they made huge amounts of money. But you need to survive during the 4 or 5 years of down cycle where you're bleeding money, take it as a part of your working capital and continue offering the service. Absorb those losses.
Sorry to differ with you. My question was not about ocean freight.
Okay.
You talk about. I am talking about local tariffs.
Okay.
Even a major port of the government of India, if they want to raise 1 rupee, they have to go through a cumbersome process of justifying why they are raising their tariff. Here, a control line charges something on a CYBL. They are not doing any activity.
You're talking about the land side.
Low charges. Charges.
But if you want charges, which today he may charge 3,000, tomorrow he may
I think your only recourse, as Christian said, is supply and demand.
No, that is not ocean freight. Again, you are missing this point.
Recourse is not there.
That's what I'm saying. At least there has to be a law based on which I can go to a court.
I understand.
There is no law, there is no recourse.
No.
I am at his mercy.
But I think most of the forwarders and shippers here would say, and we are getting sort of quite deep into discussion, it's like something like saying, if I export my goods, is it regulated? See, I'm getting X price for your textile today.
Correct.
Tomorrow he's charging X plus 10. Is it regulated?
No,
Is
no.
the profit margin regulated?
This
So
area
again,
is totally in vacuum. There is no one to look at this aspect.
We can understand, I fully understand, because I've been both sides of the table, from a owner's point of view, forwarder's point of view, and trader's point of view. There is a total cost of a landed cost of goods, which a consumer or to their supplier you will go to somebody else. If you don't have a choice, that is what the market demands today. That is what the market demands today. And if the entire supply chain is able to absorb that cost, it will continue to be there. So, in the interest of time, what I would like to do is that there's one last round, and if you can focus, starting with Amit.
Okay.
Any thoughts, especially from the industry point of view, student point of view, on the current issues and what we should be focusing on? How can we foresee some of these things?
So I'll just quickly start from the student's point of view, and I'll add to what Suresh said. I think with the IFSC and GIFT City ecosystem coming up, there are going to be a lot of opportunities for you to look forward to, right from startups to entering other markets in other geographies globally, to getting funding, to working for large shipping companies, to working for consultants, to working for banks, to working for various service providers, shipbroking, legal firms. So it's going to be a very large ecosystem for you to explore. So please do take time to study it, and please increase your interaction with the GIFT ecosystem, because that's going to be a place where you'll find a lot of opportunities going forward. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I stated earlier, let's Same thing. Why I'm in Hyderabad? I should have been in Gujarat. So that's how it is. You're blessed. So industry is here, experts are here. You have to derive maximum out of those, and you should be co-pilots of EXIM. That is, co-pilot means not the pilot, but the Microsoft co-pilot. Thank you.
Thank you. So I will add here on students' point of view mainly. You know, the Tapasya was asking a lot of questions and there was probably professor or teacher, I don't know, somebody was replying. So what I have seen, you know, before I have sailed for over 50 years and after sailing I joined government service. I was Mercantile Marine Department surveyor for 3 years and then moved to SIP agency for last 10 years. When I joined SIP agency, I was literally knowing nothing about SIP agency except that whatever SIP agent I have seen as a captain on board SIP. Actual working was you know, I have seen it, and even today I observe most of the shipping agents, or for that matter CHA, or for that matter freight forwarders, or for that matter whoever is on the field. They have a set of documents, they have a set of files, they just change the vessel name, same set of files, same set of documents, and they do go and complete the work. They know how to do the work, but really they do not know exactly what they are doing. We have seen, I have personally observed in cargo operations, I have personally, because I do a lot of inspection surveys and everything, and various other things. So what I have done is last 3-4 years, I've tried to identify those gaps, and I'm running any one of you would like to come till the time the professional course starts with GMU or some other institutes, and you want to understand about the trade, about the freight forwarding, about the exports, about the imports, about the ship agency, about the chartering, brokerage, whatever is your concerns, you may join those sessions, which is free of cost. We are running it, and these are all very expert mentors who has been in the industry for 30-40 years. You can definitely learn a lot, and then what we do is we assign those mentors to you. Working quite well for last 3-4 years. I am personally engaged on that. I would request all of you to take advantage of this. Last week we have done the session on colleges, which is collegiate regulation, you know. And the SIPS runs on we have an international or they do not know the regulations to what rules to be followed or what action to be taken. Mostly they fail. So we have IMO itself. So you see, he was one who was director in Maritime Safety Division, and he will be conducting those sessions. So we'll be doing it this. So I will request, if you have any interest, anything related with maritime, you can join. You can ask a question. If the experts are not available that day, we will connect you on the next following Sundays and all that thing. That is all from my side. Thank you.
That's an excellent one, Captain. We appreciate that. And probably we can extend a similar platform for on the commercial side as well. You know, so you're focused. But if it can be extended onto the commercial side, I think many of these things can be extended, not only for the students. You know, I would like to give those to learn more about.
Yeah, please, all are welcome, sir.
So great. Thanks, Lauren. Before we close, any question from the students? Energy levels are low. Too much of information to digest. So in closing, what I would like to say again is that to the students is that one of the most forgotten to ask questions, but we lose that ability just because I continue to mentor students just because of asking. Yes, away from this topic, but
Our esteemed moderator, Mr. Krishnan Subramaniam sir, and the panelists for today's discussion with such insightful and expertise. Your efforts have truly enriched our session. Thank you, sir. As a gesture of gratitude, I would like to request our respected convener, Dr. Dharmesh Rawat sir, Director, School of Maritime Management, Gujarat Maritime University, to the panel members. Let's extend a warm round of applause.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now honored to welcome Mr. Sandeep Shah sir to deliver the keynote address. Mr. Initiatives with key regulators like the IFSC Authority, RBI, SEBI, and IRDAI, and author of Give City IFSC a comprehensive guide and a recipient of the 40/40 Investment Professionals Award in the year 2022. Sir has played a key role in introducing new business activities such as aircraft leasing, bullion exchange, fintech, and fund management. Third, has also attracted a number of global financial institutions and universities to the Give City. I would now request Sir to please come up on the stage.
Very much. Basically, we have been dealing with banking and only banking and insurance are complicated sectors, but after today's discussion, I'm a bit relaxed that there are many other sectors which requires more attention and in-depth discussion. But happy to see kind of discussions happening because that's where
the interest lies and opportunities lies. More from a Green City perspective, I'm sure the previous speakers would have highlighted in terms of the overall opportunities and the ecosystem available. But probably I will use this, my time probably for the next 10 minutes. It's a last session, so I also understand that all of you have been kind of hearing very patiently, and will ensure that it doesn't remain more like a, one of the other session for you. Where I always ask whenever I go to such platforms, so for the students who are just next door to GIFT City, if I can just ask, how many of you have already visited GIFT City? If you can raise your hands. That's not fair. I mean, it's only 30-40% people in the neighborhood saying that we only visited GIFT City. I think I'll request now Maritime University to plan an education. Trade. And whenever we talk of import, export, business and trade, finance is always an integral part of it. Whether you are into the shipping business, maritime activities, freight forwarding, you are dealing with dollar day in, day out. It's an inherent part of the EXIM trade, right? And that's where GIFT City kind of brings the platform and an opportunity where some of these dollar denominated transactions can flow very easily and efficiently using the GIFT City structure. I'll come to the larger ecosystem where, as a shipping industry or maritime sector, while you are into the core business of the maritime activities and even in the players who are sitting from the industry, to look at how you can actually use efficiently some of the banking ecosystem which is already available there, because many times while we are still dealing on our traditional modes in terms of availing, say, trade finance related activities or dollar funding, or in terms of using the fact banks and 3 Japanese banks, US banks are already present. Now, while they are already serving in terms of capabilities in terms of lending to the Indian corporates or providing trade finance services, but they are all increasing their transactions happening in the nature of trade finance, in the nature of for factoring forfeiting, you can actually the banking facilities available, in efficiently. And today there are 160 plus alternative investment funds which have set up their office in GIFT City. They can actually invest into the assets in India. It can be a private equity investment, it can be investment into the public markets. So again, we can dedicated ship fund. We have seen private equity funds, sector-specific funds being created, but there has not been a maritime dedicated fund. So I think again there is an opportunity again in the capital market segments where such funds can be created and they can actually invest into the dedicated product. The third part is the insurance vertical, and probably that's where when I was talking to Maritime University, Dargaz by again in the past, where while you are focusing on the maritime as a sector, when you are as a syllabus in the curriculum that you are teaching in the university, But it is important that you also include the insurance and the banking aspects related to the maritime in the subject, because those are also very core and specific areas, and we have seen that companies are finding kind of hurdles in terms of getting the right kind of talent who can understand the insurance aspect in the maritime trade or insurance aspect. And that's where there are which have set up their offices. So probably some of those government-denominated insurance policies can be provided by the insurance companies. Part of a financial services as today, I think we have realized that ultimately it's an asset, and how do you create that asset as a financing model or operating model, and that's where the entire cost viability will come into play, and the GIFT City has created right kind of ecosystem where such assets can be leased from GIFT City either in India or overseas to provide right kind of leasing model. In the entire domain, we have also kind of allowed foreign universities to set up campuses in GIFT. So today there are two Australian universities which have set up. They actually offer foreign degree sitting in India in GIFT City, and two UK universities are also coming up, and they will be again offering the same foreign degree. So probably more from a talent perspective, also these universities will play a very important role to support the overall financial services ecosystem that's coming up. Some numbers, the banking asset size has grown to more than $62 billion. It is now close to $70 billion, which means these banks have already started lending in foreign currency to the Indian corporates. And that's where many of the companies within the shipping industry also they are eligible. You can look at GIFT City as an ecosystem where such funding can be kind of available. And also, the alternative investment funds have received more than $38 billion of commitment from the foreign investors, which means this fund has already been committed to make investments in the Indian market. And that's where many of you, if you are looking for a support your projects in India. The taxation regime is quite efficient. I think there has been various initiatives by Government of India in last 5 to 6 years. Even the tax-related amendments related to IFSC. But broadly speaking, the business income in GIFT City enjoys 10 years of income tax holiday. No income tax for the period of 10 years. And you have actually flexibility to select any 10 consecutive years out of 15 years. And specifically to ensure that tonnage tax-related benefits are also extended to the company's operating year, those factors have also been taken care for the job in GIFT City. There is no GST, no shipping as a vertical. I won't discuss more in detail, but you are part of this ecosystem and you know the potential of developing the shipping as a market in India is quite important, and that's where the financing. We realize that the entire ship leasing market globally is close to $200 billion market. And probably even if we capture 5% of that market, it's again going to be quite significant. Various assets have already been leased today from GIFT City, and that shows the kind of the template is ready basically. So I think the companies have actually experienced in terms of how to create such ship leasing transactions from GIFT City. There are two types of leases which have been permitted: operating lease and finance lease. Again, this is very important for the students community here because And if you have a knowledge of maritime, I think understanding operating and lease and ship leasing as Shipping Corporation of India has also established their kind of subsidiary company in GIFT City very recently. This gives encouragement to both the audience here who are in the opportunity connecting with these companies which are already present. And for the students, I think if you are looking for internship and going for an employment side of it, these companies will are actually looking for right kind of talent. So happy to help you connect all of you with these companies operating in this domain, and they are actually expanding their verticals in GIFT City. I think last slide basically from the presentation, while ship leasing as a sector is coming up, it also allows the ship management. Today in GIFT City, but probably they are also very keen to now expand their legal services to the ship maritime sector as well. Till recently, they have been supporting to the fund ecosystem, stock exchanges, and banking as a vertical. The custom-related issues were there in terms of when the initially companies were importing ship basically, and then it needs to be because the the discussion started in terms of creating the operating modalities where ship will be kind of imported in a ports basically, and then it will be booked in the special economic zone at GIFT City. So it's part of a journey where whenever we are creating a new business vertical, probably within the existing region, it's always a struggle initially, but the good part is government and the different stakeholders are very keen to develop this sector as a zone. So I think it's a responsibility is with all of us as a stakeholders to ensure that we contribute in a big way so that the right kind of suggestions and feedback. And I would encourage all of you to also international maritime cluster, and the cluster is also now becoming vibrant basically where the legal firms, accounting firms and the maritime players are becoming part of the ecosystem. So with this I'll end my presentation and look forward to engaging more with you for ship leasing activities in GIFT City. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your thought-provoking insights. I would now request our registrar, Dr. Chirag Patel, sir, to facilitate our esteemed guest, Sandeep Shastri. insightful event, it is my honor to now invite our esteemed guest, Mr. Punit Oza sir, to deliver concluding remarks to the gathering. Mr. Punit Oza sir has 30 plus years of experience in dry bulk shipping and is the president of the Institute of Chartered Shipbrokers, UK. Sir has led digital transformation initiatives at Clarence Dry Bulk and held senior positions at major shipping firms. As a researcher, trainer, and podcast.
That's true.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. This is like putting a person on the spot, literally. I was not supposed to be here, but now I'm doing remarks. But I really enjoyed this event. I would like to thank GMU. As the president of ICS, it is heartening to see this collaboration. As a teacher, it is amazing to see the kind of knowledge and wisdom that is being shared. As a lifelong student, it is amazing to see the kind of opportunity that we actually have in learning all the very time. I have got insights myself, and I really feel very thankful about it. Dr. Shanta Jyotir Gamaya, you have literally linked the university with a 5,000-year-old heritage that India has. Dr. Jyotir Gamaya is part of this peace chant, which is in the Brihadavati. And the word that Jyotir Gamaya is very, very important. There's two things written in Vedas about the Jyotir. That is the power of light, and that is the weakness of darkness. The darkness, after years and centuries, can be immediately dispelled by a small light. And the second thing is that once the light is there, and you know that there is a light available, you will always see light and never be afraid of darkness. So as a student, you should always try and make sure that the knowledge that you're getting can be always in example. Start forming regular habits. I teach geopolitics. I get up in the morning every day and I open chat GPT and I ask it one question every single day. List out the top 10 geopolitical headlines of last 24 hours. That's all I do. You form a habit. You open your ChatGPT. How many of you open up or use the ChatGPT or Perplexity or Cloud AI or any of the AIs? Exactly. All of you use AI tools. Ask it a question every day. Can you please list out the top 10 maritime headlines of the last 24 hours? Make sure that you continue to get knowledge on a regular basis. And the last tip I have is one thing that I have benefited the most from both by hosting and also listening is podcast. At some point of time, the GMU, its students, its staff, capsules of knowledge vaulted for future generations. My podcast on geopolitics and ecosystems, there are two different podcasts, are basically capsules of 20 minutes each, vaulting the knowledge of business leaders all over the world. And that is why there is no limit to knowledge. That is why never forget Tamasurma Jyotir Gamaya. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind words. Now I would like to request our respected convener, Dr. Abhay Singh Thakur, Director, Gujarat Maritime University, to deliver the vote.
feel really blessed that I have the opportunity to deliver the vote of thanks in this conference. Although it has been a small conference, but in the very brief period of time, I believe that we have taken a deep dive into an ocean of knowledge. So I'm extremely thankful to Shri Manoj Kumar Daswar and Shri Ashwini Kumarjan, who were supposed to come, but unfortunately because of the last minute engagements, they were not able to join. But they have sent their blessings for us for successful conclusion of this conference. Furthermore, I would like to thank the partners, the Institute of Chartered Shipbrokers and CN Beyond, for their amazing support, because of which we are able to do this event. I'm extremely thankful to Krishna Subramanian sir and Captain Gaurav Rana for their support. And I'm extremely, I cannot be enough thankful to Professor Dr. Sanjeevi Shantakumar, who is the visionary behind all the efforts and all the activities that Gujarat Maritime University does. I'm extremely thankful to the moderators for the day, Mr. Samisha sir and again Krishnan sir for their amazing Q&A, for their amazing questions, and again. And Amresh Kumar Jha sir, and who actually Amresh Kumar Jha sir gave an amazing opportunity to all the students as well. So he has, in addition to, he has actually done what people talk about. He has actually given you an opportunity to bridge the gap between industry and academia. So make use of that opportunity. So what you are not, or limited education, whatever you are not able to complete. Who tirelessly organized this event. I'm thankful to the registrar, Dr. Chirag Patel, Dharmesh Rawal sir, again, multiple thanks to you, Dr. Tanuja Kaushik, Dr. Mayuri, Dr. Mohit Gupta for being here and for supporting us in this conference. I'm thankful for the TRAs, the Teaching and Research Associate, Ms. Mili, who has been, although not named, but has worked more than any of us for this event. I'm thankful for Sakshi ma'am, Arundhati, Jobin for all their efforts in doing this conference, and definitely without the students it's not possible. So the amazing comparators which we have here today, who gave a new profession to Captain Gaurav also organization. So amazing work. Anyways, one mistake is something which you cannot be smart of. So
I have to live up to it now.
Yeah. So, great job by them, great job by the students, the POCs, and everyone. Thank you so much for being here. That's all from my end. Thank you so much.
Finally, let us all stand up for the national anthem to mark the official closing of the event.
you a big for being part of this enlightening conference. We hope to see you again soon. We now, I request you all to please gather for a group photograph.
Wonderful job. Excellent.
You could have live video. I see that on Maritime India Global website posted quite often. First time this year, last year. Secret global. I actually hosted geopolitics. First time. Oh yeah. We have no idea. We create templates.
The questions are related.
All of you can please join us. Students. All of you please join us. You can. Go ahead. Go ahead.